8 years ago, a bizarre force warped space and time, triggering a massive invasion of terrifying creatures from another world. These monsters slaughtered humanity without mercy. Humanity was rapidly decimated, only a few lucky survivors. Called this brutal apocalypse the magical wave, this strange shift in the planet's magnetic field unlocked brand new professions, empowering humanity. Everyone could awaken unique starting talents and select classes from the system. Once selected, those fantastic combat skills could be fully brought into reality. A person's fate depended entirely on the specific talent they unlocked. From then on, humanity learned a brand new way to survive and fight. In Young City, the first professional academy was built to train youth. Clasping his hands, the academy principal addresses his eager young students. He announces they have successfully passed every single theoretical course. Today is finally the long-awaited, incredibly momentous day for their talent awakening. The principal proudly welcomes them inside, fully confident that years of grueling training have prepared them. They now hold the raw power to protect all of humanity, even if they have to lay their very lives on the line. The principal steps forward to call them up by number. Lynn Knight, a dedicated academy student, waits with quiet anticipation. After years in this bizarre world, his big moment has finally arrived. These awakened talents are strictly ranked by different rarity tiers. Most people unlock common or rare tiers, which are pretty basic. Beyond that lie the legendary talents, which only a chosen few ever touch. And above all else are the divine talents, which remain almost impossible to actually obtain. They require extreme dedication and hard work to actually earn. As for mythical fantasy classes, they remain completely undiscovered. Naturally, swordsmen and mages are the absolute dream roles, followed by assassins and summoners, while priests are completely disrespected. Most high-level teams do not even need them. A couple of powerful mages and summoners easily replace a healer's role. Priests just hide in the back like complete joke characters. Seriously, who would pick that? They are total trash. Suddenly, a hand tugs Lynn's sleeve. A cute girl tugs Lynn's sleeve, asking if he has chosen a class yet. Lynn just smiles. There is no point stressing about it until he sees his talent. He will only know what fits once the awakening is complete. The girl lets out a pretty heavy sigh, muttering that she was just curious. Meet Sumumu, a gorgeous fellow student at the academy. Nearby boys watch them, whispering about her looks. They loudly claim that their goddess looks more gorgeous than ever today. Hearing this, Lynn casually pats her head, making her squeeze her eyes shut. Lynn squints one eye, glaring playfully at the boys discussing her stunning beauty. The jealous crowd instantly flares up, furiously screaming at Lynn to let her go right now. Lynn just ignores them, casually walking ahead with Sue and leaving the angry crowd behind. They sneer and call him a complete lowlife who thinks he is special. Everyone is dying to see him fail his talent awakening. Sue overhears their nasty words, instantly crossing her arms in sheer frustration. She crossed her arms and yelled at the guys to slow down. Just then, news broke that candidate number 1001st, Wang Shuai, had awakened a highly rare and powerful talent, granting a 50% increase in strength. Skills, people in the crowd shouted that this talent was perfect for the Power Warrior class, calling him the absolute favorite to win this challenge. Lin listened closely, his focus sharpened. For a quiet moment, he stood there lost in his own thoughts. He wondered why that guy got so much favor from the gods. Then, Lin placed his hand on Mumu's shoulder, telling her to just ignore those loud talkers. She blushed, wondering why he never seemed to care about what others thought. Walking a few steps ahead, she paused and turned back to face him. He stood silent, frowning slightly, before replying that it was his only path to true strength. Suddenly, memories of his parents flashed through his mind, running with him in their arms toward a shelter. His father tried to calm him, saying they were almost safe, yet the beast breathed down their necks. In an instant, his father tripped. He crashed hard onto the dirt road. The young boy screamed out for him as the shadow of the beast. It was closing in, but his father desperately screamed for him to run. Caught in the creature's jaws, his mother shrieked with her final breath to survive. Sometime later, the boy heard distant voices talking about finding survivors and bringing them in. He cried out for his mother and father. But a kind woman approached, promising to be his new family from now on. Back in reality, Lin quietly told Mumu that power was his only shield. Suddenly, his name flashed. His registration number was lit on the board. He told her it was his turn and walked off, leaving her standing there confused. This is it. Lynn enters the massive arena, bathed in golden light. He felt completely weightless, looking around the empty space to ask if this was the chamber where talents truly awakened, before he could get an answer. A magnificent red and white dragon materialized right in front of him. Sudden shockwaves coursed through his veins, and a notification flashed before his eyes. He had awakened the god-tier talent of heaven and earth conversion. The system prompted him to hide it. He agreed immediately. This level 1 talent overrides and significantly boosts every single skill he possesses. He could toggle this on or off at will. Further upgrades would even allow him to alter a skill's core nature. Mana costs were cut by 10%, but the real kicker lay elsewhere. Positive buffs became debuffs, and negative debuffs turned into powerful boosts. He only needed to reach level 10 to fully master this absurd power. Realizing the implications, he knew the dreaded Vani could never truly defeat him. However, he wondered what would happen against standard, non-skill physical attacks. Basic strikes or even a healer's direct spell might bypass his defenses. Those could bypass his cheat code, leaving him completely vulnerable. Clenching his fist, he resolved to keep this absolute cheat code hidden. He exited, registering himself as candidate number 1128. His real talent remained hidden. Catching up with Mumu, he quietly warned her. Everyone stared at Lynn like that because his awakened talent was still a complete secret. Whispers rippled through the plaza about Lin Yi hiding a supposedly pathetic talent. One loudmouth even jeered that a peasant like him only deserved garbage abilities. Most dismissed Lin Yi as a total loser, but some focused on the next step. It was time to choose a class, and Su Mumu was up next. Once students finish their awakening, they head to the goddess statue. That is where they lock in their future. Lin Yi stepped forward. The system chimed right away, announcing that he could now make his choice. A glowing blue notification confirmed his eligibility for any base class he wanted. His skill, pure cheat code, Lin Yi realized heaven and earth reversal was divine. If used correctly, it basically granted him absolute and total invincibility. To truly break the game, he needed a class that perfectly covered his bases. Choose wisely, he had to cover his flaws and select the right class. A confirmation prompt hovered before Lin Yi, asking for his final choice. The system asked if he really wanted to become a basic priest. Nobody ever picked healer first in this session, but the young man just smiled. He confirmed his selection with a grin, eager to start his healer journey. Golden light enveloped his entire body as the class change processed smoothly. A second later, the system declared his transformation was completely finished. He grinned, absolutely thrilled with how his plan was coming together. A detailed status screen popped up, showing his newly unlocked stats. No mistakes, Lin Yi analyzed every single detail with intense focus. Everything was brand new. He closed his eyes to test his active skills. He quietly activated his mythical heaven and earth reversal talent. The description for his basic healing art skill warped right before him. He smirked. The reverse skill now reduced health instead of restoring it. Since it bypasses physical armor entirely, it deals absolute true damage. Absolutely broken, he also carefully checked out his passive clairvoyance skill. Reversing this would drain enemy mana, leaving mages completely helpless. He could instantly expose and exploit any opponent's vital weakness. Still, Lin Yi had to remain cautious with his unique setup. Because of his reversal talent, friendly buffs might actually kill him. Meanwhile, onlookers standing near the steps mocked his weird class choice right away. They whispered that only a weak coward would hide in the backline as a priest. They assumed he just wanted to hide safely behind a stronger team. Next up, the crowd gasped when Su Mumu awakened her legendary talent. Her bionic tears skill let her summon extra-dimensional spirits to fight. Everyone lost their minds over such a rare, god-tier ability. Now all eyes were on which class she would pick. Su Mumu stepped up to the goddess statue as the system prompt appeared. Zero hesitation, she did not delay for even a fraction of a second. With a serious expression, she locked in her choice as a mage. Lin Yi watched her, noting how deadly a legendary mage would be. She easily had the potential to join the top professional alliances. Even the headmaster couldn't hide his excitement from the sidelines. The academy noted that his interests lay elsewhere, since absolutely none of the students had chosen to become a priest in ages. The Young men stared at him in disbelief, while our newly minted priest kept completely silent. A nearby teacher murmured that Lynn had nothing to say after reluctantly choosing this path, but the headmaster just stroked his beard. Suddenly, Muma rushed over at lightning speed and loudly called his name. Catching her breath, she calmly announced her decision to become a mage, eagerly inviting him to team up for the trial. The young man thanked her but politely declined, mentioning he had other plans. The girl opened her eyes wide, staring at him as she demanded to know his plans. Out of nowhere, a system alert announced that the Grey Wolves beginner trial was officially open to all of the newly awakened students. A smug rival from the academy then walked up and approached Lynn, asking if he would convince Muma to join his elite team instead. He even offered to tag Lynn along, provided the useless priest strictly followed his orders. Nearby students jeered, saying they only tolerated him out of pure pity. But Lynn instantly rejected the offer, prompting them to call him ungrateful. Academy headmaster frowned, warning that teamwork was absolutely vital in this trial, especially when they had to face overwhelming waves of demons. The listening students turned their heads to focus on the veteran educator. After greeting them, the headmaster firmly declared that personal grudges must be cast completely aside when dealing with the looming demonic threat. Lynn calmly replied that there was no conflict. He simply preferred going solo to maximize his experience and drops. The elder became incredibly frustrated, unable to comprehend how a support priest could survive completely on his own. He warned that while teams could be swapped, physical safety was no joke, since injuries sustained in the trial carried over to reality. Lynn thanked the director but stood his ground, choosing the solo path. As he walked away, he knew that to truly power up, he had to keep his legendary divine talent hidden from prying eyes for now. Meanwhile, the headmaster watched him leave, wondering where such confidence came from. Glowing system prompt materialized before him, and he read it with keen interest. The message warned that the beginner trial was highly lethal for solo players. When the system prompted him to confirm if he wanted to enter alone, our hero instantly locked in his decision. A secondary warning screen popped up, detailing the severe dangers of the wolf forest. It urged newcomers to form a party, noting that the forest swarmed with bloodthirsty beasts. If a solo player got surrounded, escape would be near impossible. He knew this zone was notoriously difficult, a place where even coordinated parties struggled to avoid casualties while aiming for a decent clear rate. In fact, getting a B- rating was considered an exceptional result here. He recalled that a restorative spring lay at the center, providing a safe zone for players to recover. Because of this, the combat value of a healer priest plummeted even further. True hunters do not just hunt down wolves. They herd them, Lynn thought, observing the nearby groups preparing for the trial. As the beasts closed in, Lynn squinted his eyes, planning his next move. Other players usually went deeper into the forest, entering forbidden, deadly areas. Doing that meant certain death, but with his god-tier talent, why play it safe? He could never settle for some average, low-tier rating. Lynn gathered his focus. He knew he had to reach the legendary Forbidden Lands at all costs. Deep inside this treacherous wolf forest, the vicious locals began surrounding him. These wolves ruled the territory. Lynn calmly stood his ground and sized them up. A glowing holographic screen materialized, showing him all of their monster stats. Within seconds, the boldest wolf in the pack lunged forward to bite him. Instantly, Lynn activated his healing magic, but instead of restoring the beast, it took 50 points of reverse damage, ending the threat. Then, another wolf rushed. Lynn was way too fast, shutting down its charge while gaining health back. He immediately activated his secret weapon, triggering the reverse mode. Combining clairvoyance and imprisonment, a new system notification flashed. The alert confirmed he had spent 30 mana points to execute the spell. His broken skill drained all enemy mana completely, freezing it in place. Staring at the paralyzed beast, Lynn smiled at how incredibly effective this was. He stood there casually as yet another hungry predator stalked toward him. He immediately triggered his healing spell to greet the beast. It was just inches from his face when the system flashed once more. It notified Lynn that 50 points of reverse damage had struck his foe. He glanced at the fallen beasts scattered around, doing some quick math. Each monster gave 10 experience points. Clearing this whole area would be massive. He would easily hit level 4. His real target was the hidden boss. Even being a level lower, he knew he could handle the final beast. Suddenly, a massive wolf snuck up from behind, preparing to tear him apart. Catching the movement, Lin reacted instantly, dealing massive damage without taking a scratch. Wiping his face, he knew his careful preparation was finally paying off. He had trained tirelessly. He understood how unforgiving this world truly was. Monsters do not care about your level before they rip you apart. Another notification appeared, showing his special reverse mode had finally deactivated. Next, he decided to scan the area using his clairvoyance technique. The system chimed again, congratulating him on reaching level 2 with boosted stats. Lin received 2 free attribute points and dumped them both into intelligence. With that, his ability to heal safely and regenerate mana became absurd. Meanwhile, back at the academy, the director was discussing the Forbidden Zone. Students were strictly banned from entering, yet Lin was heading right in. The old director was shocked to hear the boy was targeting the boss. He realized Lin was no fool. His hidden talent had to be legendary. The gray-haired man muttered that if the kid survived this, everything would change. But if he failed, they would have to search for other promising candidates. He truly hoped Lin would return in one piece, standing nearby, a guard. Placed a bet that the kid would break every existing academy record. The guard then asked about the other promising student, a girl named Sumu. But Sumu was completely unpredictable, always shattering her elegant goddess image. She made a split-second decision, yelling for the guys to get behind her. Without wasting a moment, she quickly activated her bionic tears skill. Only a few seconds later, she decided to unleash her special Frost Flash ability. The frozen monsters instantly shattered, and wolves went flying in all directions. Mumu pressed her lips together, declaring with joy that they were safe. The academy director, who was closely watching her performance, took note of this. He admitted she was decent, though a staff member grumbled about her combat skills. They believed raw talent alone would not carry her far, unlike our hero. He collected points, satisfied that his speed was right on track. Taking down elite steel mobs would easily push him to level 4. Suddenly, a soft rustling sound made Lin freeze and turn his head. He approached the trembling bush where the sound came from, knowing it was right there. That is when he spotted several massive wolves guarding a nearby hillock. Leading them was a dark descendant of the legendary Wolf King. A system prompt warned Lin that this beast was incredibly ferocious. And get this, textbooks actually classify this monster as a forbidden threat. Countless academy students had been severely injured trying to fight it. Many aspiring heroes were bitten, forcing teachers to blacklist the entire forest. But Lin knew that wild wolves never stayed in one place forever. He understood that even these beasts would eventually leave to hunt elsewhere. They would not remain around their king once their duties were finished. This behavioral pattern meant he could easily isolate and defeat them. With the guard wolves separated, he could quietly pick them off. Suddenly, a system notification flashed in front of him with good news. His passive ability had successfully dealt reflection damage back to the wolf. To Lin, these aggressive mobs were nothing more than perfect experience bags. Once he finished harvesting them, he would challenge the Wolf King alone. As the king lost his guards, Lin watched his own level rise. Right on cue, a screen announced he had reached level 4. Suddenly, the giant dark Wolf King let out a furious scream. The beast was completely enraged, but the young man only smiled back. He quietly looked over his giant opponent, checking to see if anything was missing. Now he announced that it was time to start their final showdown. He had already carefully studied the boss's traits beforehand. The guy knew very well that these stats were much higher than normal wolves. But Lin was not about to fall behind as the beast growled. He realized that the beast's attacks would only serve to restore his own resources. If the king kept striking, Lin could win by standing completely still. The giant wolf bared its fangs, its eyes glowing with rage. It breathed heavily from exertion as another notification popped up. The prompt showed his cooldown was ready, which came as a surprise. He was shocked it was finished so quickly as the boss roared. A warning message flashed that the king was preparing a claw strike. But that basic claw strike did not worry the focused young man at all. As the beast lunged forward, he calmly prepared to face the strike head-on. The beast finally understood what was happening, but it was already far too late. Enraged, the Wolf King lashed out, but our young hero kept up the pressure. He figured that if the boss had brought a whole pack, he might actually have to try. Locking his gaze on his target, he grinned, glad the boss was entirely alone. Moments later, a bright system notification flashed right in front of him. Defeating the Dark Wolf King awarded him 1,000 experience points. This immediately pushed him up to level 5 as he cleared the Forest of Wolves. For his solo victory, the system rewarded him with a bronze chest. He also saw that he had cleared the stage without taking any damage whatsoever. His rating was upgraded to level triple S. Our hero muttered that if reverse healing actually did direct damage, he would have easily scored even higher. Back outside, all the academy students discovered that someone had cleared the challenge. They had wiped out the Forest of Wolves and unlocked every hidden achievement. This shocking news threw everyone into a frenzy as they began whispering about who it was. Several excited students pointed out that they were witnessing a historic, legendary event. Even the principal agreed, praising the mystery student as a completely unique, unrivaled genius. He recalled that Lynn Knight was the only one who dared enter those woods. His assistant was baffled, asking how anyone could secure a triple S rank. After all, the main requirement was completing the entire trial solo without taking a single hit. In the crowd, Mumu kept wondering how on earth Lynn had managed to clear it so flawlessly. While other players whispered among themselves, a few grew deeply concerned. But our hero was calmly walking through the cleared forest, completely out of danger. Laughing off his luck, he decided it was finally time to crack open his reward chest. Now watch as he opens the chest, a new system notification flashes before him. He had scored a silver tier skill book and some high-grade silver equipment. But the real prize was a powerful weapon called the Shadow Dagger. The system confirmed it boosted both his attack power and marksmanship stats. Next, he unlocked a new active skill called Divine Healing to bless nearby allies. This power would surround any teammate within 12 meters with warm, holy energy. There was just one catch: it had a pretty long cooldown and drained a lot of mana. Still, for the early game, that was not going to be a major issue. Having a massive area effect spell with this much damage was basically a cheat code. But as Lynn walked, his mind drifted to things beyond just gaming rewards. He thought of his aunt and uncle, determined to stop being a burden on them. Just then, a notification popped up showing he had 5 free attribute points. Since these points are incredibly rare, he knew he had to spend them wisely. Staring closely at the system interface, he realized something even more exciting. Simply achieving that triple S rating had gifted him bonus stat points. Without hesitation, he decided to dump everything straight into his intelligence stat. From this day forward, he would become the ultimate, most brutal priest of disaster. Outside, the students suddenly began shouting that the trial run was ending. Everyone assumed a legendary triple S rank team was about to walk out. Instead, the lone silhouette of a single person emerged from the glowing gate. When the crowd recognized Lynn Knight, absolute shock rippled through the academy grounds. They looked behind him, utterly confused about where the rest of his team was. Sumumu suddenly sprints toward Lynn, desperately asking if he was the one who did it. Nobody could believe that someone they always looked down on had actually pulled off such a miracle. But wait, someone points out that Lynn just walked out completely empty-handed. The other students stand behind him, laughing and sneering, convinced there is no way he succeeded. That is when Lynn raises his hand, revealing a rare assassin dagger for everyone to see. He asks if any new assassins in the crowd want to buy a high-quality weapon. A shocked player stares at the silver-grade weapon and asks where he got it. Not a chance. Lynn simply asks the crowd if anyone actually wants to buy it. Instantly, the players go wild, shouting over each other to claim the rare weapon. Lynn hears a bid of 50,000 coins and figures that is a pretty fair price. He nods, declaring that he is perfectly fine letting the silver dagger go for 50,000. But as everyone stares, a girl suddenly yells out, offering a massive 100,000. No way, the surrounding players instantly freeze in pure disbelief at the offer. Jaws drop because an ordinary family only makes 10,000 coins a year. Saving up 100,000 coins would take an absolute lifetime for most of them. Huge money, but Lynn just shrugs it off with a calm smile. He knows 100,000 is a bit much, but it is not completely crazy. For a premium first-class weapon like this, the price is actually quite reasonable. Deal done, he lets the dagger hover over his hand, making it official. Immediately, the crowd presses around Lynn, demanding to know what level he has reached by now. He casually tells them he is level 5, but they refuse to drop the questioning. They keep shouting, asking who his team was and if that legendary Triple S rank is real. Meanwhile, the school principal and his assistant watch the chaos unfold. The old man points out that Lynn actually went into the dungeon without any team. No way, his companion interrupts, arguing that a solo run should be impossible. Nearby, shocked students whisper among themselves, wondering if this could even be real. Could a raw student actually score a perfect Triple S rating all by himself? To get that rating, you have to complete the entire raid completely solo and undamaged. Quite impossible. Even seasoned, low-level professionals struggle to pull that off. Seeing this, one of the bullies asks his friend if they should keep bothering Lynn. Total denial, the bitter leader clenches his fist, muttering that Lynn got lucky. He is convinced Lynn cheated, claiming he is probably just some weak, low-level priest. He promises they will teach Lynn a lesson he will never forget next time. Soon, the headmaster addresses the crowd, announcing that the initial trials are officially over. From today, they are no longer ordinary students, but trainees with unique powers. Standing alongside Sumumu, Lynn listens as the headmaster delivers the heavy news. In exactly 30 days, they will face the ultimate professional trial of their lives. The old man warns them that they will either return as powerless, ordinary citizens, or worse, they will rise as heroes destined to battle the demons. The gray-haired principal emphasizes that everything rests on how they perform in 30 days. During this crucial month, they must raid beginner dungeons and reach at least level 10. Lynn notes that the upcoming professional exam will require working together as a solid team. Having perfect team coordination is a massive factor in their final evaluation score. Glancing over at Sumumu, Lynn realizes he has already chosen his ideal partner. He knows her cold, distant attitude is just a mask hiding her true potential. Honestly, Sue needed looking after, simple-minded, clumsy, and yet fiercely loyal. She simply could never quite hide her incredibly sweet, honest nature, and yet, despite her newly awakened talents, Lynn made up his mind. He absolutely had to protect her. Memories of his aunt and uncle flashed once again, reminding him of their promise to never let tragedy strike again. So he suggested they skip dinner and head straight toward a much more dangerous dungeon. The pair traveled to a cavern known as the Stone Cave, a nest teeming with countless venomous scorpions. A sudden prompt flashed before them, offering a choice of difficulty. Lynn did not hesitate for even a split second, immediately selecting the hardest setting before slamming the glowing button. Harder tiers meant terrifying monster stats, requiring much larger teams. To secure the rare loot, interestingly, the Stone Cave only offered medium and hard settings. There was no easy, entry-level option for them here. It was either survive or fail. Sue asked Lynn why he picked the hardest path, knowing even the basic tier was deadly. But Lynn merely gave her a highly reassuring look, telling her she just needed to trust him. Sue quickly clarified that she did trust him, but she still worried about clearing the zone without injury, fearing she might drag him down. Smiling, Lynn raised a single finger, revealing he had a plan. Sue gasped in utter shock, asking if he actually meant bypassing the deadly creatures entirely. Lynn shook his head, pointing out the modified monster files. He explained that he had gathered, thoroughly reconstructed, and mapped out all the ancient, hidden data. By running precise calculations, he knew a clean run was entirely possible. Sue stared at him, her eyes wide with overwhelming respect and absolute wonder. It was like he was predicting the future through pure deduction. She had always secretly suspected that Lynn was holding back his true, immensely terrifying power. He had spent years analyzing dungeon layouts and monster patterns, calculating everything, yet he barely passed written exams, making everyone label him a useless fool. Snapping her out of her deep trance, Lynn looked right at the blushing girl, asking what was on her mind before gesturing her to follow. She nodded quickly, trying to hide her red cheeks as she promised to follow, believing in his heroic future. Legend who would save the entire world. Moments later, the duo materialized deep within the Stone Cave dungeon, warily scanning their surroundings. Sue smiled, admiring how beautiful the cavern looked. However, Lynn sternly reminded her that this untamed zone was incredibly hazardous, much worse than before. Suddenly, a glowing blue system notification flashed in front of them, warning that they were being merged with other rival squads for a co-op trial. Because their party was too small, Lynn explained they had to stay extremely alert during the run. He also quietly warned or that they would not only fight wild beasts but face ruthless, hostile competitors too. Before they could take a step, the pair froze in sheer horror. Just a few meters away, a deafening, violent explosion suddenly tore through the rocky chamber, throwing a player from a rival team backward. The survivors watched in terror. The injured man winced in sheer agony, weakly wiping away the hot, fresh blood that began dripping heavily down his face. Lynn stared at the monsters. He had totally underestimated these smaller mobs. They could easily knock players off, making this dungeon way more dangerous than imagined. Sweat dripped down his face. The pressure was real, but Lynn grabbed her hand. Grabbing Mumu's hand, he warned her they had to escape immediately, turning around to quickly explain the strategy. Scorpions are absolutely terrified of water, he explained, and their range is tiny. Stay close, follow my lead, and do exactly as I tell you. You will not get poisoned. Mumu nodded quickly, trusting him completely. Lynn paused. He added that these monsters are incredibly sensitive to noise. Even a tiny sound will make them use their swarm technique instantly. No time to waste, Mumu approached him, asking about his unique abilities. She asked if his talent was a triple S rank, but he silenced her immediately. Shushing her, he explained they needed a clever path to avoid the mobs. We must slip past them unnoticed. We have to find a dungeon glitch. Lynn pointed out a specific lake on the map where those water-fearing beasts gathered. The lake was fed by pure spring water, completely safe for humans to drink. Without wasting another second, the young man made up his mind and prepared to move. He suddenly yelled for Mumu to jump, leaping into the water himself without hesitation. Mumu hesitated. She just stood there, staring down at the water in total confusion. She finally jumped. Seconds later, she surfaced safely right next to her companion. Lynn was standing there, quietly holding a stone as if plotting his next move. Meanwhile, the rival squad from earlier was suddenly surrounded by a swarm of scorpions. They were completely lost, standing frozen in sheer panic as they watched. The massive monster army marched directly toward the deep water. They marched forward in a massive wave, only to halt right at the edge. Safe on their little island, Lynn and Mumu watched the beasts from a distance. The venomous Scorpion King loomed ahead, massive and packing a lethal, poisonous sting. Lynn frowned, baiting the giant beast over, fully aware of its weakness to water. But the creature stayed on the shoreline, letting out a terrifying, warning hiss. Lynn just smirked. He locked eyes with the giant beast, plotting his move. If you won't make a move, he muttered, then I guess I will. He moved fast. Within seconds, he was picking off the scorpions one by one. He kept farming experience points, leaving his watching rivals completely speechless at his power. They couldn't believe a priest could deal such insanely high spell damage, especially since their entire squad could barely take down a single common scorpion. Mumu stepped up. She confidently offered to clear out the rest of the monsters. She activated her copy skill alongside a freezing ice spell to blast them. Mumu gasped, completely stunned by how fast her level was shooting up. She had already reached level 4, according to her flashing system notifications. Lynn looked over, reminding her that their real challenge was starting right now. He warned her that this boss could conquer its fear of water. Mumu cast her ice spell, anxiously checking her system screen. 10 damage, that was it. She stared in absolute horror at its massive defenses. She could not afford a single mistake in this high-stakes battle. But Lynn kept his cool, pointing out the weak spot on its body. He never finished. The Scorpion King suddenly lunged forward with blinding speed. Attack, Lynn shouts for Sue to keep making those fulcrums as their raid. Attack strikes 150 damage to the Scorpion King, but Lynn realizes it is barely scratched. It shrugs off the pain and keeps advancing toward them. Lynn smirks. It is finally time, without wasting it. Second, he casts his ice spell. He parries the heavy strikes, thinking fast. His opponent only raises up during specific attacks, exposing a weak spot on its underbelly. Lynn focuses, unleashing a massive critical blow right there. Boom, 1,000 points of damage chunked from the Scorpion King. Mumu gasps, completely jaw-dropped, before cheering that it was totally awesome. And right on cue, a system alert flashes. The dungeon raid is officially complete and the loot begins pouring in. Lynn's level immediately hits level 6. He also bags a golden chest and 5 stat points. As the duo reads the screen, the other team runs straight toward them. Desperate, the rival guys drop straight to their knees. They beg him to carry them, swearing loyalty to save themselves. But Lynn does not even look back. He bluntly tells them both to keep their mouths shut about everything that happened here today. Lynn glares coldly, warning them to not even think about blabbing, or else if they speak a word, the consequences will be dire. The duo teleports to the safe zone and prepares to unlock the chest. Right here, they know for a fact that absolutely nobody else can ever steal their loot. Private instance, Lynn commands the chest to open, and Sue instantly gasps. In shock, 5 extra attribute points. It is simply too good. To be true, out tumbles a greatsword, ice boots, a poison spell. And a rare emerald ring. Mumu is stunned. Lynn smiles pure luck. His eyes lock instantly onto the shimmering ring, even though it is only silver grade. It significantly reduces his skill cooldowns. An absolute game changer. Lynn knows this item is easily worth just as much as those stat points. It would go for at least a million coins. Lynn hands the poison bubble skill book over to Sue. It is perfect for mages. She hesitates, noting it is an extremely rare gold tier skill. Poison skill, but her build is strictly focused on ice. Normally, mages are locked into a single element once they make their choice. Suddenly, she freezes. A flashing system message appears. It floats directly in front of her face, revealing a completely broken hidden master class skill. 2 elements are already active. Sue is completely floored by this. Lynn grins, telling Mumu that she should definitely look into this. She might be able to unlock some completely broken hidden perks very soon. It is the ultimate advantage, a broken feature that sets her apart from every other mage, a literal trump card in her hands. Sue laughs, reminding him they need to move before their time runs out. She asks Lynn how he is spending his 5 free stat points, but he just smiles. She probably won't like his crazy strategy. Nearby, some players are whispering. Some complain about the terrifying scorpions, while others are totally distracted by how gorgeous Mumu is. The local guys clearly had a soft spot for her, but another group of students were extremely curious about the weak-looking boy standing right next to her. Rumors spread that he hit SSS rank, and everyone whispered about his shadow dagger. Suddenly, a sleek yellow sports car came tearing down the street, terrifying everyone. The flashy driver stepped out, remarking that Liao was right about this incredible girl. Instantly, Sue grabbed Knight's arm and urged him to get out of there. Knight asked what was wrong, but Mumu made it clear she despised the newcomer. She hated spoiled rich kids who bullied others and robbed innocent people. Even worse, his favorite hobby was targeting vulnerable girls from poor families. But the brunette classmate turned to them, asking if they could wait just 1 second. The newcomer introduced himself as Hang Xin, the wealthy heir of the Hang Company. He smoothly asked for a meeting, making nearby students whisper in complete shock. No matter where he went, he instantly became the absolute center of attention. But suddenly the bully Huan clutched his hand, screaming in agonizing pain. After a few painful seconds, sweat poured down Huan's face as he glared upward. Through gritted teeth, he demanded to know what kind of class Knight had. Knight calmly stared back at him, replying that he had not done anything. And luckily for him, everyone standing around could easily attest to that fact. With a broad smile, our hero declared that he was just a reaper. The surrounding crowd murmured in complete confusion. Wouldn't you be confused too? Meanwhile, Mumu quickly realized this strange event was actually Knight's unique talent. Huan struggled to rise back to his feet, clenching his fists and swearing. Sweat poured down his face as he frowned, preparing to strike the boy. But just a second later, he crashed hard onto the ground once more. He whimpered, telling Knight to stop playing dirty with his strange skills. Knight silently marveled at how beautifully his reverse technique was working. It did not just inflict basic damage, but stacked additional pain too. He noted that the strike felt weak, even though he used half power. Hang Xin angrily yelled for Knight to fight like a man. He promised to make him kneel, but someone in the crowd shouted back. They warned that using awakened powers in regular fights was strictly forbidden. The glasses kid, Joe, knew Huan had incredibly thick skin and top gear. He realized Knight had cleared a dungeon entirely solo to get this strong. Knowing Knight had reached level 5, Joe quickly stepped forward to apologize. He tried to smooth things over, wondering how Knight had stayed completely hidden. Knight calmly replied that he had absolutely no intention of causing any trouble. But the furious Huan disagreed, loudly demanding that Joe attack Knight instead. But the smart glasses kid had no intention of starting a fight. This refusal made Huan boil with rage, his face twisting in fury. He no longer looked like the elegant heir of a wealthy, powerful family. Joe began dragging his angry friend away, quietly warning Knight to be cautious. He warned that if Hang Xin stayed angry, he would seek revenge later. Joe even advised the boy to stay away from school for a month. He held out a loaded bank card as compensation, offering his personal help. He sincerely hoped for an understanding, but Knight flatly rejected the offer. After all, Lin made it clear he would not cause trouble unless provoked first. Not happening, he simply wondered what kind of schemes Huan would try next. Leaving with Mumu, the young man quietly reflected on his incredible new potential. He had to make a move. Lin posted his strategy online. This guide targeted the stone cave, but Sue was still highly skeptical. She was terrified it would fail. He remained completely confident. After all, who would ever pass up free attribute points? Meanwhile, a desperate raiding team was currently struggling deep inside that very cave. They were pushed to their limits. They needed that guide. Risking their hard-earned cash was terrifying, but they took the gamble. It worked. In just 3 minutes. They cleared it with a triple S rank. The results were mind-blowing, leaving the team members completely frozen in shock. They cleared it easily. It was absurdly simple, yet completely undiscovered. The cave terrain was notorious, but this guide changed the game entirely. It made those harsh, complicated conditions look incredibly straightforward and simple. The price was a total steal. Every single player agreed on that. Soon, crowds of desperate players began flooding the online boards. Everyone was hunting for the guide to claim those free stat points. Mumu bounced with joy as a massive wave of orders flooded in. Elsewhere, an influential woman stared at the website page where Knight sold strategies. She immediately demanded to know if her staff had tracked down the seller. They admitted the user had used clever hacking methods to mask themselves. However, they managed to trace the source IP to a professional academy. The lady smiled. Things at the school were getting interesting. Soon, a buyer named Lingu sent a private message wanting a large sword. They quickly arranged to meet up right near the academy dungeon entrance. Mumu squealed with delight as they cleared over 300,000 credits. Lin calmly smiled, knowing everything was proceeding exactly as he had planned. Still, he knew they would need to conquer more dangerous dungeons next. He realized his current starter weapon would eventually need a replacement. After all, holding premium gear is useless without real combat experience. Without those practical instincts, fighters just end up as cannon fodder. Sue warned him that the time before their upcoming challenge was precious. She wondered why he wasted vital hours writing guides to earn cash. He just smiled, explaining he needed the money to protect his companions. Since they had always sheltered him, he had to return the favor. Having lived a cold, familyless past life, he never knew true warmth. Reincarnating into this brand new world was his absolute greatest piece of luck. Now he had loving parents, though 10 years ago, things were horrific. Back then, his toxic relatives treated him like an absolute outcast. Gross. They openly wished the young boy would die in the magic waves. They wanted his parents' inheritance and actively plotted to split it up. Right in front of him, they shamelessly discussed their greedy plans. They even complained that the boy should have been dumped in an orphanage. Bickering adults actively fought to grab the biggest share of his inheritance. That was the night Lin ran away, desperate to survive. All he wanted was enough food. Thankfully, his aunt and uncle took him in. Their own son, that was how those kind souls raised him, with pure kindness. Gradually, Lin let his guard down. Later, they recovered his rightful inheritance. Wholeheartedly, they cared for him. Now, Lin looks at the local school kids. Without his aunt and uncle, he could never have continued his education. To repay them, he works tirelessly to earn money. He owes them everything. But get this, the real reason he wants to get stronger goes much deeper. Protecting the people he loves is the only thing that actually matters. Never again will he repeat past mistakes. Suddenly, a voice calls out. Startled, Lin turns around, looking quite confused by the sudden greeting. A girl asks if he is selling the hunting sword. Her name is Bai. Introducing herself as a top academy student, she smiles warmly. Surprised, Lin asks if she is a professional combatant or a casual buyer. He rarely does in-person deals, but she insists she had no choice. Her phone died just minutes ago. Lin agrees and initiates the secure transfer. Remember, he warns her, purchases like this are completely non-refundable. Lin frowns slightly, quietly shifting the weapon over to her inventory. Deftly, Bai catches the hunting sword, examining the blade with sharp eyes. Wait, does it really only cost 80,000? Normally, these go for much more. Lynn dryly asks if her teachers ever taught her about actual market rates. Bai admits she has always been terrible with math and price tags. Thinking she is just a rich fool, Lynn warns her to be careful. He advises her not to get scammed. Bai smiles, thanks him, and pays. A sudden notification chime rings out. Lynn has received 80,000. With over 1 million in his account, he gains gold card status. He is absolutely thrilled to save cash on shipping fees. What a win. Grinning, he tells Bai that he is always at her service. But then an unexpected system prompt flashes directly in front of him. Mysterious blessing is active. He has received the goddess luck gaze buff. Absolutely stunned, our hero looks at her and asks if this is her talent. Yes, she confirms, adding that she can still upgrade its power. Then she asks to join his squad. Lynn just stares in disbelief. An incredibly rare talent like Bai's is something you almost never see. Her insane buff transcends loot quality. Even weak boxes could yield miracles. Under her influence, anyone can pull legendary or divine items with ease. Lynn is utterly speechless. Has she told anyone else about this skill? No, she softly replies. She has kept this incredible secret completely to herself. Lynn asks about its limits. Bai explains she can only use it weekly. Specifically 3 times a week on one target. Lynn warns her to stay quiet. This potential is terrifying. If the world finds out, she is done. Power like that makes you a target. Factions will hunt her down. They would strip away her freedom, just to monopolize her incredible ability. Bai looks down, quietly mentioning the powerful alliance of elite professionals. That massive organization is supposed to lead humanity's fight against the darkness. Magic wave, but after all, within the alliance, there are too many factions with complex relationships, secret power struggles, sudden assassinations, and constant betrayals. Happening all the time. That was why Lynn invited Ji onto his team, promising they would take good care of her. The girl was completely surprised, asking if he was telling the truth. The young man smiled, introducing himself once more. Extended his hand, telling the girl how glad he was to have her, and offered to go meet her comrades. Bai got incredibly excited, noting that nobody ever believed she could fight on the front lines, while the guy remembered how she handled that giant sword. Before long, the young men approached Sue, and she immediately asked if he was the jock, clarifying he was their comrade now. The girl stammered as she introduced herself. Then Mumu held out her hand, stating her name. Zhu immediately noticed that she was very pretty, and her hand was so soft. Our hero wondered why she was staring at him like that, while Sue hugged Bai and asked how Knight was treating her. The guy coughed awkwardly and suggested they grab some lunch to discuss the dungeon. Mumu turned her head, asking what exactly they would discuss. Ji opened her mouth and eyes wide in surprise. Far away, everything remained peaceful and quiet in the Goblin dungeon until our hero arrived. Lynn had already decided that the nightmare difficulty suited him, but to make sure everyone got free stat points, the young man decided to go in alone. He would make a guide for the girls. The nightmare level is the absolute highest field difficulty during the beginner phase, but the rewards here are easily the most generous, yielding a gold-ranked treasure chest. At the same time, the monster stats are heavily enhanced. If a professional is not careful, he could lose his life. Going in just for money is highly discouraged by anyone. Sue immediately shouted that it was impossible, asking Knight if he wanted to get himself killed. She argued that it was crazy to challenge the nightmare difficulty right now. He replied that it would be fine, asking if she doubted his abilities. Mumu added that she trusted him, but the nightmare level of this dungeon was too dangerous. She could not bear to watch the young man fight, remarking she had business to attend to. She informed them she was leaving, said goodbye, and ran off. Lynn told Sue he understood her worry and asked her not to worry, promising he would only run the normal level, offering to go home for food. The girl made him promise he would actually do so. Otherwise, she would tell her parents. Later, she asked her dad why he was being so blunt. Auntie began piling food onto his plate, saying they would never interfere with his decisions, though she added they sometimes wished Knight behaved more like Sue. She noted that a quiet, healthy life was enough for them and smiled. The young man smiled back, promising to learn from his classmate Mumu to become a calm saltwater fish. The girl had sweat dripping down her face, wondering why she was the one getting teased here, and the guy laughed it off, telling his uncle and aunt not to worry and promising he would never do anything beyond his limits, his uncle told Lynn to always remember this house would always support him, She handed the young man a bank card, but Jihan insisted he'd already made some money and asked her to keep it. The aunt, however, argued that since the young man was going through trials, he would need to spend a lot more. She then added that if the young man didn't take the card, she'd be furious, leaving him no choice but to agree. Our hero slipped the card into his inner pocket, wondering if his late parents could somehow see him now, and silently let them know he was doing just fine. The young man thought about how deeply he would treasure this new life, since getting it back had been such a massive struggle. Standing right in front of the monsters, Jihen declared that he had to become much stronger for his family, welcoming whatever nightmare-level dungeons awaited him. Angry shouting voices suddenly echoed from deep inside Huang Xiong's house. As arguments flared, Jonah spoke up about trying to save his troubled brother, and even paying back some of the massive debt. Without his help, he would have been stuck in a hospital ward, but the older brother roared that it was all absolute lies, insisting he never needed help and that Jihan was nothing but a worthless piece of scum. He wished he was geared up, but Jihan cut him off and firmly told him that he desperately needed to rest. Shane couldn't stand hearing any of this and grabbed a glass. Sitting on the bedside table, he hurled it straight at Jihan, screaming that he had completely disgraced himself because of him. Calling Jihan a coward, Hang yelled for him to get out of his sight. Jihan simply stared at his raging brother and calmly asked him if he thought he could act so lawlessly just because he was the youngest son of the Huan group, mentioning that he never should have agreed to his uncle's request to watch over him. He even added that Xiaoying deserved to be beaten so relentlessly that his own mother wouldn't even recognize him. Then he sneered, laughing that Jihan didn't even have a mother to begin with. The furious man bellowed that they were done speaking, warning Jihan that if he left, he shouldn't come back, and began lunging to strike the young man. Meanwhile, the man with the glasses watched, thinking that Huan had absolutely no idea who he was messing with. This was a complete newcomer who could easily crush opponents without even relying on active skills, and although Jihan never openly admitted to it, he secretly clears entire dungeons completely solo. Meanwhile, Shifan had no intention of calming down. He quickly pulled out his phone and demanded help to deal with someone, requesting thugs equipped with deadly weapons. Frowning, the bitter young man growled through grit teeth that everything's under control, but man, that arrogant brat really needs to be taught a lesson so he finally learns who truly runs things around the academy. Meanwhile, Jihen was already standing near the goblin dungeon. The first stage, the mystical forest, was waiting ahead. A blue system screen suddenly materialized in front of him, displaying the dungeon's high difficulty and detailed layout, but the most critical rule was that absolutely no rewards would drop until the final level was cleared. With dangerous monsters prowling around, Jihen silently recalled that this particular zone was actually notoriously difficult due to its massive clearing time and incredibly vague requirements. Most players avoided farming gear and points here. However, what drew him in was the chance at a gold level chest, and trust me, with his broken luck buff, he might even pull a platinum tier treasure chest. Suddenly, a pack of wild goblins leaped out in front of him, alongside a system prompt detailing their stats. Our hero simply smiled and thought. The countdown started. Lynn did not even blink, remaining totally calm. In 5 minutes, a massive horde of monsters would gather at the gates. He was ready to test his ultimate fast kill plan. The young knight knew he had to wipe out all the normal goblins and their king. Plus, clearing out each floor could not take more than 10 minutes. The boss waited on floor 5. Lynn knew he had to survive the onslaught. With 30 seconds left on the clock, the first wave of beasts prepared to spawn. They spawned instantly. Our hero went to work, shredding them to pieces. Just over 2 minutes had passed since he stepped onto the very first floor. That was when he ran right into the goblin commanders, with a massive grin. He baited them along, shouting that everything was going exactly according to his calculations. Watch this. When he turned around, a massive wave of monsters was right there. He unleashed his power. A massive, blinding wave of light engulfed the chamber. His divine healing instantly upgraded to level 2, completely wiping out the first floor. A stream of glowing system alerts popped up right in front of Lynn. All of his core stats, strength, agility, and intelligence, had shot straight up. He realized he had cleared this initial floor in a swift 5 minutes flat. This proved his strategy of pulling monsters together was absolutely flawless, leaving him with plenty of time. Even if his damage output dipped, he still had another 5 minutes to finish up. Moments later, every single monster on the second level lay dead at his feet. Floors flew by, our hero reached level 5 in no time. Activating his teleportation ability, he instantly bypassed the final defenses to reach the heart. Dropping right into the Goblin Palace, he stood face to face with the furious Monster King. The beast roared in rage, demanding to know how a mere human dared to invade. A blue screen popped up, displaying the creature's immense power levels and skills. Looking at the stats, Lynn found it strange that the boss was completely undefended. There were no regular guards in sight, making the secret boss fight feel highly unusual. The boss screamed for him to die, lunging forward with massive force. Lynn already knew from his notifications that this lord was an absolute powerhouse. Still, the sheer speed of this opening strike caught him slightly off guard. Leapfrogging into the air, the massive Goblin King cast a shadow over the entire room. Lynn briefly considered diving to the side to escape the direct impact zone. He could have dropped low to minimize the incoming shockwave from the crash. Not Lynn, instead of dodging, he chose a far more aggressive path. He completely neutralized the crushing impact of the boss's earth-shaking shockwave. Gritting its teeth, the beast glared in utter disbelief at his flawless defense. Pure rage, the goblin's ultimate attack, had done absolutely nothing to him. Meanwhile, Lynn's health bar surged upward, filling him with confidence. The giant goblin's life points began to drain, forcing out a desperate shriek. Wheezing heavily, the boss desperately tried to activate its legendary dragon spear. Denied, Lynn saw the incoming skill and shut it down immediately. The successful counter restored 200 health points, bringing a smug grin to his face. Next, the desperate boss attempted to call in backup with a flight summon. Once again, Lynn shut it down, healing for 40 points and preventing any knockback. This left the dungeon boss completely powerless and boiling with absolute rage. The monster sneered. He asked if the boy's abilities were completely useless here. Surprise flashed on the young man's face. The beast actually spoke. Furious, the Goblin King roared that he had finally uncovered our hero's weakness. He began screaming for his people to swarm the area and slaughter the enemy. Knight fully expected this level of trouble from a nightmare-tier sneak boss. The guy was a handful. The young man gripped his weapon even tighter. He held back. Now was simply not the time to use his ultimate spell. Lynn covered his mouth with one hand, his brow furrowed in concentration. His pupils shrank instantly. He stared forward, completely caught off guard. The boss ordered his minions to charge without using any of their abilities. Just run him down. Suddenly, a massive swarm of monsters began to approach. As they closed in on Lynn, the king mocked his physical limits. Could he really withstand hundreds of normal physical attacks at the same time? The horde rushed forward, prompting him to instantly activate a dodging skill. Realizing he was trying to run, the monsters immediately started firing their bows. A hail of arrows flew through the air, piercing our hero and draining health. Lynn looked down. Several arrows were sticking right out of his body. He shrugged it off. Quickly, the young man activated his recovery magic. His health points climbed. He swept a hand over the bleeding wounds. In an instant, the injuries vanished completely. The Goblin King stared in pure rage, screaming that the young man was somehow totally unkillable. The beast spat insults, but our hero remained incredibly calm under pressure. Looking at the monster, the quiet disgust on his face was obvious. The horde flinched under his glare, but he struck first, draining their health. The Goblin King mocked him, claiming he lacked any real warrior spirit. "Stop running," the beast screamed. "Stand still and fight like a man." Warrior spirit, Knight laughed silently at such a ridiculous notion. "Time to clash," the monster shrieked, unable to comprehend his power. He accused the boy of wielding some sort of forbidden demonic strength. Completely calm, our hero whispered that it was time to end this. A massive lightning strike hit the castle, setting the entire place ablaze. The monsters never stood a chance. It was a complete sweep. Within seconds, a system alert confirmed the entire legion was wiped out. He was rewarded with 1,000 experience points for the massive clearing. The next notification showed the boss's health was below 1%. Near death, the Goblin King weakly muttered that he was completely finished. Lynn did not waste time gloating. He immediately prepared his next spell. He unleashed a healing spell, combining it with a raid technique. The monster crackled with lightning, thrashing around in pure agony. Seconds later, the final system alert declared his total victory. He received 5,000 experience points and easily reached level 7. To top it off, he was awarded a rare platinum chest. Looking down, he realized how insane his passive luck skill really was. The lucky goddess's gaze had directly upgraded the chest quality. This single reward would easily carry him for a very long time. He had 20 hours left for one more dungeon run and began opening the treasure chest. A system notification popped up showing he received a skill book, attribute points, and equipment. He learned that the Holy Light skill book had a unique effect. It required spending mana to blast enemies with a beam of pure holy light. He also scored a gold tier flame flask that deals 300 damage in combat. Meanwhile, the shimmering stone would boost his attribute stats by 20 points. Next, the Divine Starburst skill book emerged from the chest, offering massive healing. It could fully restore health and illuminate his entire team, the Sandstorm Bow. Summoned a raging sandstorm upon firing, dealing extra earth magic damage. Lynn smiled, thrilled that he had pulled a solid weapon and 2 platinum skills. He was incredibly happy. This amazing haul felt like a dream. No monster could survive. He could kill them all instantly. As the system interface flashed again, the young man confirmed the prompt. He learned the new techniques and allocated 15 free points to intelligence. This fully unlocked the Divine Starburst and Holy Light skills for his arsenal. Thanks to the Shimmering Stone, all his core attributes jumped by 20 points. Scanning his newly upgraded stats, he realized this dungeon run was worth every second. He grinned happily, seeing his strength, agility, and raw stamina rise. His luck, defense, and intelligence had all increased by 20 points. Suddenly, a loud rustle cut through the air. He spun around. Thinking he was discovered, Lynn asked Sumumu if she was visiting this dungeon too. She snapped back angrily, telling him to stop playing around and get serious. Then she demanded to know if he truly cleared the Nightmare Goblin dungeon. Lynn confirmed it, prompting Sumumu to sigh that she wanted that run first. But then a fancy car pulls up, and things are about to get real. A smug voice called out that they had finally tracked them down. Apparently, they had jumped through multiple teleport gates just to find them. Peering through a spyglass, the stranger noted that Lynn had a highly punchable face. Inside the car sat the arrogant young master, Huang Xiaoping himself. He warned his companion that the legendary Lynn was going to be in deep trouble. But then he began furiously, smacking his partner over the head with all his might. The bruised subordinate whimpered that our hero actually looked incredibly dangerous and intimidating. Huang Xiaoping barked at him to shut his mouth, yelling that he was completely useless. He knew the trembling coward would be of zero help in their upcoming fight. A wicked grin spread across his face. He was ready. And just like that, our hero heads home to shake up the entire community. He posted an incredibly detailed strategy guide for clearing the nightmarish goblin dungeon. This guide would allow regular players to easily clear the highest difficulty. Keeping a serious, focused expression, he carefully read through the online comments. Soon he spotted viral articles featuring his profile and his strategy sales. People were buzzing about his legendary solo Triple S rank clear of the dungeon. Skeptical players flooded the forums, struggling to believe his incredible achievement. Suddenly, a long series of system alerts began popping up in rapid succession. These messages showed massive coin transactions as players bought his detailed strategy. Within minutes, he realized he had already accumulated 500 gold coins. With those coins, his balance now stood at 1.5 million. Lynn looked closely at the monitor, realizing this was far more than he ever expected. Then the system notification flashed before his eyes, showing him that the koi effect would remain active for another 15 hours, Lynn figured. He still had plenty of time to rest up, so he decided to go for a run. As he strolled peacefully along the scenic coastline, he noticed other people enjoying their day. Just then, a flashy sports car screeched to a halt only a few meters away. Lin stopped in his tracks, curious. Inside the vehicle sat none other than Hanga Fang. Hanga Fang smugly offered to drive him, but Lin simply asked a sharp question. Did that kid not warn Xiao Xiong that crossing Lin is a massive mistake? The driver snapped at Lin not to bring up his brother, calling Titi a traitor. A stranger sitting in the car laughed, telling Lin he should listen to Xiao Fang. Otherwise, he would get punched right in the face, and things would get ugly. They even threatened to pay his family a visit, making Lin realize they knew his address. Walking slowly toward the vehicle, Lin watched Juan, who seemed desperate to act tough. Juan claimed he would face Lin like a real man without crying for backup. Furious, Juan barked at his partner to stay out of it and challenged Lin directly. He boasted about his high-tier gear, claiming Lin could only dream of such power. Lin merely frowned as he watched the arrogant fools, still wanting to finish his run. Meanwhile, Juan whispered to his partner that they would stick to their secret plan. The partner nodded in agreement as Lin calmly stepped inside the flashy sports car. He told them to start driving immediately, not caring how many thugs were waiting. Lin made it clear he had better things to do than waste time on them. This blatant disrespect made Shelfin boil with rage, screaming that Lin would deeply regret this. While Lin sat in complete silence, Juan threatened to make him crawl like a dog. Lin glared right back at his opponent, eyes narrowing with a cold, silent intensity. He quietly resolved to make this guy wish he had never been born. The sports car tore down the road at breakneck speed, heading toward the unknown. Moments later, the sleek vehicle pulled up near the edge of a dense forest. A massive crowd of thugs was already waiting there, cheering loudly for Juan. Stepping out of the car, Lin calmly observed the crowd and asked a simple question. He wanted to know if this was a fair duel or a group beatdown. Shang turned to Lin with a venomous smirk, clarifying the rules of their fight. He declared that Lin would have to take on their entire gang at once. In that instant, Shang summoned his wind shadow blade. Lin just chuckled, completely unfazed. Huang frowned at the disrespect but quickly grinned back, telling Lin he was dead. With a cruel laugh, he pointed his hand directly at the young man. He ordered his men to tear him apart, and the mob charged forward instantly. Lin calmly summoned his own weapon, ready to face the overwhelming wave of attackers. Dozens of thugs lunged at him from all sides, but he evaded them effortlessly. Suddenly, the blonde fighter from the car unleashed a powerful assault weapon at Lin. Lin nimbly leaped to the side, noting the sheer raw power of the attack. Lin leaped away, realizing just how much raw force his opponents were packing. He quickly decided that it was finally time to unleash his powerful inversion talent. His rival laughed mockingly, sneering that Lin was still just a helpless little kid. But in an instant, his face completely changed, twisted with sudden panic. His entire body trembled in absolute terror, and he was not the only one. The other attackers began violently shaking, coughing up blood and breaking into sweat. The blonde guy wiped the perspiration from his forehead, wondering what kind of trick Lin had pulled. Not a single blow landed, yet he was left deeply confused by this bizarre power. It had effortlessly bypassed their gold-level defense in a single breath. The thugs began panicking, asking if everyone was okay. One of them pointed out that Lin was just a weak reaper while they had safety in numbers and top-tier gold-level gear. Together they could still win. They quickly surrounded our hero. But get this, as they unleashed their powers, their jaws dropped in shock. Their eyes widened in sheer terror as they witnessed the brilliant, divine starlight gathering above. Lin unleashed his counterattack. He activated his forbidden fallen hell skill. The blonde attacker trembled, stammering that something like this was totally impossible. They had been wiped out instantly. Lin turned his head as he heard an incredibly smug voice. Someone sneered that relying on cash was far better than trusting useless allies. He boasted with a smug grin that he had bought a diamond-level armor suit worth tens of millions at a high-end auction. Suddenly, a system notification flashed on screen. The diamond-tier armor had no level requirements, boosting stats by 100. Bystanders gasped. That the exclusive auction entry tickets alone cost millions of dollars. He was the heir, the immensely wealthy successor to a massive multi-million-dollar corporate empire. Huang smirked, threatening to make Lin drop to his knees and beg this time. He arrogantly asked if our young priest was terrified, but Lin remained completely and chillingly silent. Huang just kept mocking him, throwing out one arrogant insult after another. He sneered that it was not too late to beg, but Lin calmly replied with ice in his voice. No matter how legendary your gear is, it cannot mask your weak, cowardly spirit. Furious at the insult, the rich kid completely lost his temper and charged forward like a madman. Screaming for Lin to die, he immediately activated his rapid shadow jerk skill. But Lin was completely unharmed by the wild strike, gliding backward with effortless grace. Huang was in disbelief, unable to comprehend the dodging technique the priest had just used. An impossible evasion. He even wondered if this opponent was truly human. There was a strange, terrifying trace of demonic energy surrounding him. Huang bellowed in rage that This was impossible, accusing the young priest of dumping all his stat points into agility. He insisted his own stats were far superior, instantly activating his wind shad. Strike skill, he screamed that he would finish this fight once and for all. Lynn only smiled, telling his panicked opponent that his stats must be pretty garbage. Because his attacks could not even land, Huang ground his teeth in pure, sweating frustration. He was speechless. Lin, however, gave him a cold, hard look. Glared coldly, announcing that it was now his turn, as he prepared to activate. Looting technique, Huang was completely caught off guard by this unexpected move. He fell into deep confusion, which played perfectly into Lin's hands. Soon, a system alert. Notification flashed, stating Huang had taken 10,000 damage and his armor was badly damaged, ruining the set bonus. He stared in absolute disbelief. Sweating profusely, the rich brat began frantically feeling around his broken diamond breastplate with both hands. Moments later, he forced himself to calm down, gripping his weapon tightly. He sneered, wondering if Lin really thought he could win, and charged straight forward again. Our hero unleashes a frantic assault, striking with skills like chopping blow in rapid succession. Next comes triple decapitation, but he has no intention of stopping there just yet. Finally, he unleashes Horde Annihilation, but Knight easily dodges every single incoming strike. Leaving Knight completely untouched, infuriated, his opponent activates a skill to escape. He flies several meters back, desperate to create some distance while consumed by absolute rage. Juan is drenched in sweat, trembling and scowling as he struggles to stand. Over his dead body, he swears, but then he suddenly collapses face first. He sways from side to side, frantically screaming about whatever new trick his opponent just pulled. Meanwhile, Lin realizes that even his standard basic attacks can easily pierce through enemy defense. Beating down scum like Keen even restores his health. Knight just casually sits back. He tells Juan he should just surrender and pay up some decent compensation. Maybe donate gear and apologize, but Hang interrupts him, scowling deeply. He screams that Lin is delusional and unleashes a barrage of insults, but our hero ignores it. Instead of listening, Lin focuses on looting, making the enemy howl like a rabid animal. Knight just smiles and tells Juan not to sweat it since his health is fully restored. Time to continue. Off to the side, a terrified bystander watches and screams in horror. Xiao Fang is still suspended in midair, coughing up blood from the brutal exchange. Bruised, broken, his entire body is covered in deep wounds and painful abrasions. Juan's crew watches, whispering that this has turned into pure, unadulterated torture. They warn each other never to cross Lin again, but he isn't finished yet. He immediately unleashes a devastating meteor shower skill. One of the friends starts losing his mind. He tears his hair out, screaming, wondering if Xiaoping can even survive this onslaught. Meanwhile, hidden deep in the nearby bushes, a camera is quietly recording every single second. And here is the kicker: the entire beatdown is broadcasting live to the world. Viewers are flooding the chat, wildly discussing the crazy action happening on screen. Broadcast on the air, Juan's friend looks absolutely terrified, his pupils shrinking to tiny pinpricks as he screams, asking what kind of skill that was. Meanwhile, the viewers watching the livestream are absolutely amazed by Knight's overwhelming power, while wondering where on earth Xiong gets the courage to face him. They also point out that the rich boy is incredibly obnoxious, with some even questioning the actual value of his armor. Spectators are flooding in, but Juan still refuses to back down. Instead, he tries using sheer intimidation, but the crowd keeps watching the clash. Comments flood in, with most supporting Lin and some even begging to become his disciples. Someone in the chat mentions that the brunette looks exactly like their classmate who recently had a major clash with Xiong. The chat starts buzzing. Viewers are actively leaking everything they know, sharing details about our hero. They reveal how this young man previously sold S level gear on the forum. A user named I Am Not a Seal insists it cannot be the real Lynn Knight because he is far too modest. Seeing this, Sue panics. She has no idea what to do. She knows he cannot hide his identity any longer and worries everyone will recruit him. Meanwhile, over in Lin's fan club, members flood the forums with positive comments. On the flip side, Juan receives absolutely zero love, with viewers actively routing against him. They want this arrogant upstart punished. It actually gets so bad that people start demanding his father step down, pushing their entire company to the brink of bankruptcy. Mumu even warns her parents that Hong Xiaoyong has officially crossed the line. She wanted them to teach the bully a lesson, but they refused, her mother remarked that the scoundrel would get what he deserved and added that using borrowed power meant he would never reach the top. This completely shocked Sue. She stood frozen, jaw dropped in absolute surprise at her mother's blunt words. Then she argued that doing nothing would destroy the family reputation. But her parents calmly replied that the kid could handle it alone. Meanwhile, a man relaxing in a plush chair wondered if Lynn had actually managed to pass the professional exam already. It was spectacular. He pressed the remote to pause the video, muttering that the young man's raw potential easily surpassed legendary limits, making the discovery completely mind-blowing. That such a genius had chosen to become a priest when a once-in-a-century talent belonged in the professional league. A blonde woman looked around, asking the others if they should recruit him early. One female executive nodded right away, immediately agreeing with the proposal. Another urged them to secure this prodigy as fast as possible. A bald man grinned, asking La Huang why he was still lingering. Shouldn't he be rushing to his son? A red-haired guy laughed, saying it was no problem. Meanwhile, Huang Tanzio, the company branch head, sat in silence, lost in deep thought about the situation. Dripping with sweat, he nervously reminded them that he was still the boss. He promised that a handsome compensation package for Lynn was already planned. He even apologized for his son, but back on the battlefield. And right as the intense clash between them reached its peak, a shout cut through. A helicopter buzzed overhead, blasting an order through the loudspeaker. It told Lynn to back away. A man in glasses ran up, screaming that the director, Huang, wanted to talk to him right now. Chiefin smirked, gloating that his father was involved and Lynn was finished. But Lynn merely smiled. He calmly asked what the big deal was, wondering if the chairman was actually trying to intimidate him. He told the director to come himself. The messenger bowed nervously, handing over a phone with Director Huang on the line, explaining that they were ready to pay damages and apologize in person. Chiefin shrieked like a lunatic. How could anyone bow to this bastard? He screamed, demanding to know if his father had gone completely insane, begging to know if they were actually going to kneel before Lynn. This was pure madness. Soon after, Director Huang arrived to meet him. It was Chiefin's father, who admitted his son's actions were the direct result of a neglected upbringing, expressing deep regret for the trouble. Even Lynn was surprised by this humility. The man added that simple apologies were not enough, offering any elite equipment he wanted. Meanwhile, his son fell to the dirt, throwing a pathetic fit and rolling around with foam at his mouth like a spoiled baby. Seeing such genuine sincerity, Lynn agreed to the offer on one condition. He smirked, stating that he had a counter-proposal of his own. He demanded 3 complete sets of diamond-level gear for a priest, a mage, and he paused, thinking it over, before demanding 5 million coins as his price. He asked if that worked for him, while Xiaopeng's brother quickly dragged him away. The brother's jaw dropped in pure shock. Meanwhile, Jin Jan started to break a sweat. He realized that getting 3 sets of professional diamond armor would be incredibly tough. Finding them would take time, but Tanzio stepped up with an unexpected proposal. He told the kid to wait a few days, since they had none in stock. But he promised the alliance would back him up with resources and full support. After loading Xiaopeng into the helicopter, Jihen quietly cursed under his breath. He knew he was the one who had to clean up this massive mess. Adjusting his glasses, he scanned the area. Dealing with these guys was never simple. His sharp eyes quickly spotted a hidden electronic device, a video camera. Within seconds, he rushed over and reached out to shut the stream down. But instead, he looked straight into the lens to thank the viewers for watching. He announced that Mr. Huang had arrived in person to apologize and offer compensation. All the final details would be shared on tomorrow's official broadcast. Liu realized the alliance had been tracking him ever since his talent leaked. Tanzio then offered him direct access to the alliance's most valuable assets. He was willing to hand over resources from all their secret dungeons. More than 50 of them. Jihen noticed that Jiang Cheng was highly complex. The area was filled with treacherous splits and ravines. Still, Liu looked confident. He stared at his opponent and said a single month was plenty of time. That was plenty of time. Xiaopeng's brother was completely stunned. Nobody could believe a single guy could clear 50 secret dungeons in 1 month. His jaw dropped in shock. Even the elite guard behind him froze. Hearing such a wild claim left everyone shocked. Then Tanzio stepped forward. He invited Liu and his friends to a private dinner tomorrow night. Liu agreed, saying he would post online about Mr. Huang's personal invitation. Tanzio frowned, wondering if Liu had already calculated everything in advance. Sam smiled, noting that they had officially settled their terms for now. Inwardly, he smiled, realizing that the young man's potential was truly limitless. Liu agreed to release Xiaopeng, warning them never to cross him again. Yongchang warned him that the Huang family was dangerous and incredibly ruthless. Liu shrugged, making it clear he had no interest in their family drama. They were not close enough to gossip about those personal, dirty details. Yongchang thanked him for understanding. Soon, they arrived at Yongqing's finest restaurant. This place was a certified 5-star establishment and always packed to the brim. Its legendary chefs were absolute masters of their culinary craft. The restaurant was famous for its elite, top-tier level of customer service. They even provided entire private dining rooms for single, individual guests. A dedicated service team was always on call, waiting for Liu to arrive. Here, every single guest received royal treatment, no matter who they were. Even the cheapest orders came with first-class VIP care, Mamu warned Liu. She told him to stay on guard despite Mr. Huang's public, televised apology. He smiled and told her not to worry because everything was under control. After all, he knew the arrogant Tianqi had literally fallen at his feet. He only did this because he saw his massive potential and wanted a connection. The restaurant host stepped forward, opening the door for the young guests. They were led inside, straight into VIP room number 888. Mr. Hang was already seated at the table, smiling warmly as he greeted the night. He gestured for everyone to sit, politely asking if the girls were his friends. After welcoming them, he ordered the waiter to bring out their finest specialties. He then raised his glass, asking for their permission to offer a sincere apology. He apologized first for his son's arrogant behavior, taking full blame for his actions. He blamed himself for raising a troublemaker, causing Mimu to open her eyes wide. She noted that there was absolutely no hint of pride or arrogance in the man. Bai felt that true politeness and friendliness emanated from the gentleman. The girls raised their glasses, deeply impressed by his humble and polite attitude. They never expected Mr. Hang, a major powerhouse in their city, to behave like this. Lin realized the patriarch was sacrificing his own son and thanked him for his honesty. He added that if the son learned his lesson, the matter would be forgotten. With the issue settled, they shook hands to seal their new agreement. The guard then entered and quietly informed Mr. Hang that preparations were complete. The patriarch gave the nod, and the towering bodyguard went to retrieve the items. Within seconds, a flashing holographic system message suddenly popped up before Lin. The prompt showed the stats for a legendary gear set called the Devil King's Armor. The young man realized it was basically a top-tier diamond set, very similar to his. While some might see this payoff as a cheap bribe, extra defense is always useful. He knew having legendary gear was far better than going into battle without it. Smiling back at Mr. Hang, Lin assured him that he was completely satisfied with the gift. Bai was also incredibly overjoyed by the grand gesture. She opened her mouth in shock, barely stammering out her gratitude. Zhu was stunned, knowing that 3 diamond-level sets cost an absolute fortune. Even for the wealthy Hang family, gifting this gear was a massive sacrifice. Still, she praised the amazing equipment and thanked the gentleman warmly. A high-profile dinner was being broadcast live, keeping viewers completely glued to their screens. Viewers were amazed that a powerful executive showed such deep respect to a rookie. The group enjoyed a wonderful dinner, engaging in a highly productive conversation. Bai stuffed her face with delicious delicacies she had never tasted before. Eventually, Lin suggested they move on to the main business of their meeting. Mr. Hang agreed instantly, ready to discuss the critical details. He pointed out the massive crowd of reporters outside and offered an escort. He then handed over a rare pass to a nightmare-level dungeon. It was the Kingdom of Bones, promising that more resources would follow soon. Lin accepted the pass, clutching it tight as he agreed everything was perfect. But the moment they stepped out of the lobby, pure chaos erupted. Dozens of eager journalists shouted his name, blinding him with camera flashes. He kept walking forward as they pressed in with endless questions. Meanwhile, the defeated son, Hang Feng, lay heavily bandaged in his hospital room. Cold sweat poured down his bruised face as he struggled through the pain. He slowly opened his swollen eyes, catching sight of a dark silhouette over his bed. The creature laughed merrily, boasting that it was indeed him, none other than his supremacy Mager from the abyss, a supreme pure-blooded demon lord possessing incredible strength. The kid slanted his eyes, answering coldly through his teeth that he already knew who stood there, asking if demons always look like bed bugs. Mager immediately thought of the town laughingstock standing right in front of him, who was recently beaten by the priest, wondering how this kid could be so proud. The demon scoffed, telling Huang Xiaoyong all about a strategic retreat, demanding if he was clear. His eyes glowed with red fire as he smiled caustically, asking if Huang Xiaoyong wanted this, adding that ignorant and foolish people were laughing at him instead of helping, while his friends and family had chosen to side with the enemy, mocking him. Then Mager offered to make a deal with him, promising to grant him a terrifying power. Thanks to this, the kid could take revenge on all those who humiliated him. But Huang Xiaoyong shouted for Mager to get out immediately. The supreme demon chuckled, saying he would show mercy this time. Huang Xiaoyong stood on the bed, declaring he didn't want favors from a low-level bug, shouting to give that terrifying power to the poor and losers. Mager paused for a moment, pondering whether to just kill this idiot on the spot. Then he said that once Huang Xiaoyong sorts it out and makes up his mind, he only needs to speak his name. Smiling, Mager declared he would hear the call, granting the lad the great power of the abyss so he could become fearless. Now watch as they head into the land of bones, levels 6 to 10. Its difficulty was absolute nightmare level. Our hero asked how many chances she had left this week to unlock her talent. Before the young men there appeared system messages warning that the land of bones is an abandoned place shrouded in death and surrounded by an army of sleeping skeletons. Anyone who enters here will awaken the monsters with their blood. Ji raised her finger, replying that she had just one left, having entered twice and used it once already. The guy warned her not to rush, advising her to save it. Meanwhile, Lynn noticed that even though the dungeon was a nightmare level, their diamond armor kept them safe. But basic platinum drops wouldn't help much. The young man then spoke about Mr. Hang promising them better resources, mentioning that they now had a disaster difficulty level unlocked for them. Knight reported that the only things they were missing right now was weapons, so if things got rough they would sell everything unnecessary. The guys then explained to the girls that they had 3 clear goals here. First, to get free stat points. Second, to obtain weapons, and thirdly, to completely clean out the dungeon. Sue winked with a playful smile, saying they would wait for the young man's instructions. A notification popped up. This nightmare level difficulty was widely known among pros and players as the Bone Soup. The next system prompt revealed that to achieve the triple S rank, 4 strict conditions must be met. First, they must kill the final boss Ghost Rider. Second, wipe out every skeleton. The third condition, ban any weapons capable of suppressing evil. On top of that, players must keep their health under 60%. With that fourth condition set, B said that it was now completely clear why this place was nicknamed Bone Soup, since he points out nightmare levels are identical, meaning the Holy Sword makes this easy. Sue smiles. Even with 300% bonus damage, it still feels nightmarish. Mumu hugs Ji tight and tells her not to worry about a thing. Once they escape, they will buy plenty of snacks with their share of the loot. Sue nods in agreement, while Lynn chuckles, saying he completely understands her logic. Besides, he is working here for free. He glances around, ready to begin. He brings his finger to his mouth, biting down hard without a second thought. He bites until it bleeds, exactly what he needs. He lowers his hand. Fresh crimson drops begin dripping from the small cut directly onto the cold ground. He plans to use his own blood to draw out every single skeleton nearby. He will make them face the one thing they hate most, the Holy Sword. Lynn grits his teeth. He activates a dangerous combo, triggering reverse healing along with a constant bleed effect. But he is not done yet. To make absolutely sure this trap works, he triggers the state of decay, and suddenly, a massive horde of skeletons appears. They smelled blood. Lynn yells that they have to leave. Mumu throws her arm around Bai's shoulders, shouting for Lynn to keep pushing forward. Before long, a notification alerts him that his body has absorbed an anesthetic pill. It is designed to dull intense physical pain without actually healing any wounds. He does not hesitate to take it. His body is aching all over from the damage. Every single injury is throbbing, so he welcomes the temporary relief. Lynn dashes forward, his health bar dropping at a terrifying rate. He realizes these monsters crave fresh blood even more than they fear holy light. Bai's cheeks flush red as sweat drips down her face in pure panic. She anxiously asks if they should go help him, but Mumu stops her. Mumu tells her they must trust Lin. He would never let them down. To keep drawing them in, Lin deliberately cuts his hand open one more time. Fresh blood flows, but his health is dropping to critically dangerous levels. He has less than 10% left when a critical system alert pops up. The boundary of the Land of Bones is finally right in front of him. He summons his remaining strength to reach it, knowing this is his only shot. The moment he crosses, a massive wave of healing points floods his system. A new message flashes, confirming that divine healing has successfully triggered. The chasing skeletons freeze in their tracks, completely bewildered. They slowly begin to realize something is terribly wrong. Lin tells them it is far too late to run, activating his divine starburst inversion. He narrows his eyes, calmly watching the brilliant light swallow the battlefield. He unleashes his devastating fallen heaven and hell skill on the horde. The screen flashes as the health bars of every skeleton instantly drop to zero. Lin walks up to the edge of the massive chasm, peering calmly into the depths. Across the gap, the girls stand frozen, staring at him in complete disbelief. Their wide eyes and open mouths make it obvious how terrified they are. Lin silently stares back at them, his expression completely calm and unbothered. After a moment, he regrouped with Bai and Su near the cavern entrance. Suddenly, a booming voice echoes from the darkness as the skeleton boss awakens. Riding a skeletal warhorse, he demands to know who dared disturb his slumber. He threatened to turn their skulls into bowls and drink their blood. Then, a system alert flashed. An eerie skeletal warning popped up right before the group. The beast raged. Lin spotted a bizarre, glowing new system notification. It displayed one word, inversion. Lin's eyes burned with fierce hatred. Gritting his teeth, he muttered that everything was inverted. He wasted no time planning. Lin unleashed his roundup technique. The gigantic boss now had absolutely no escape. Relentless blows rained down. The giant boss shrieked in absolute agony. Its massive health bar began to drain. The Titan was stunned. 500 points, gone instantly. Lin smiled, completely thrilled by this sudden development. A sickening, heavy crunch echoed deep from inside the monster's broken body. A system notification flashed. The boss had suffered a catastrophic life force inversion. Its overall difficulty spiked by 50%. Another urgent prompt quickly appeared. Danger, the alert warned them that the Skeleton King's health was falling rapidly. Another prompt revealed that the boss's passive skill, Undead Wrath, had just triggered. This massive state heavily boosted all of its base attributes. Its skull flared with turquoise light. It roared, summoning its fallen brothers. A system warning flashed before Lin. Every single dead creature was rising. This revival restored the boss's health by 100 points every second. The young man watched. Countless fallen beasts clawed their way back to life. The giant boss roared. These stupid humans would meet their doom right here. The beast sneered, demanding to know if they had any final words. No fear, Lin was not intimidated and burst into a booming laugh. Bai marveled at Lin's immense strength. Su mocked the monster's sheer stupidity. They ignored basic math. The boss recovered 100 points every second. But Lin did not even need the forbidden healing power of his sword. Easy victory, Mumu confidently declared that 3 seconds would end this. The boss tried to heal. However, Lin's inverted power drained its life instantly. The skeletons collapsed. The monster gasped in shock, unable to understand anything. Lin coldly told the beast to prepare its own final words instead. He glared down at the crumbling boss. A victory prompt materialized. The boss was slain. He received 6,000 experience points and chests. Along with rare treasure, Lin had successfully reached level 8. He was thrilled. Everything had gone exactly according to his plan. He received bonus attribute points. His new gear was successfully activated. The girls cheered loudly, praising Lin's incredible feat. However, a message warned that they received no rewards due to their total inactivity. They contributed 0 combat value. They got nothing. Suddenly, Mumu gasped. Her jaw dropped in shock. Another blue notification floated before them. It announced that the final quest in the Land of Bones was completed. They earned the stone sword key. It opened a unique one-time portal. Bai squealed in excitement, asking if she was misreading the legendary key. It was a high-tier cataclysm-level key. A prompt appeared before Lin. The system asked if he wanted to open the chest, Sue wondered. She could not believe a unique key was hidden inside this dungeon. No one had ever opened it. Lynn began carefully inspecting his prize. It remained completely unopened. Lynn began examining the object, immediately noticing a strange detail. This key looked very different from their usual reward options. Once used, both key and chest would vanish forever. Ji's eyes went wide. Ji opened her eyes wide, asking if one-time dungeon rewards were truly better. Mumu smiled, confirming they were several times more powerful. On top of that, unique items were guaranteed to drop. Surprisingly, none of the previous high-level pros cleared it completely unharmed. Sue snapped, telling them to stop talking and open the chest. Bai eagerly agreed, practically bouncing on her feet with pure excitement. Both girls were dying to see Lynn's raw luck in action. The young priest squinted, a drop of sweat sliding down his cheek. He was curious himself. Suddenly, a bright system message flashed. The gold-level chest opened, granting Great Assassination and Black Iron Fist. A second prompt revealed they had also unlocked a platinum chest. They gained massive free stat points and platinum-tier equipment. The legendary drops included a Zoo Hound weapon and the Meteor Staff. Lynn saw nothing for priests, but the staff belonged to Mumu. He offered it to her, making the other girls laugh playfully. Sue shrugged, noting those 10 free stat points were still amazing. A notification popped up, adding those extra points to Lynn's intelligence. He walked up to Mumu, presenting her with the powerful earth-attuned weapon. The staff perfectly matched her specialized mastery over the 5 elements. She asked where they were going next, and Lynn smiled confidently. Their team was already leading, but he wanted to reach level 10. He asked if they were ready for another run, but trouble struck. A bandit grabbed Bai, yelling at the boy to surrender the key nicely. Lynn and Mumu immediately spun around, staring coldly at the intruder. Mumu panicked, sweat dripping down her face as the bald leader smirked. Looking incredibly pleased, the bald man held a sharp knife to Ji's throat. He warned she would die, but Ji showed absolutely no fear. Instead of backing down, she glared at him, becoming absolutely furious. She attacked him head-on, screaming that Lynn would never hand it over. The hooded bandit next to him scowled and gritted his teeth. Without a moment's hesitation, he lunged forward, launching a strike at Bai. Bai saw the incoming blade, her face turning pale with terror. Ji raised her massive greatsword, ready to block the brutal counterattack. But her combat levels were simply too low to match theirs. With a dull crash, she fell directly at the bald man's feet. The hooded bandit scoffed, while Lynn's expression turned dangerously cold. He calmly told the bandits to let the girl go if they valued their lives. The bald leader laughed, warning the boy not to speak so arrogantly. But his cocky grin vanished as a terrifying, heavy pressure crushed him. Lynn made his move, launching a devastating strike. The man screamed in terror as Bai managed to roll away safely. The bald leader scrambled backward, shouting at his partner to stay back. Meanwhile, the other bandit lay flat on the dirt, completely unconscious. They call Lynn a complete loser, shouting that a pathetic weakling who is not even. Level 10 has no right to interfere. Suddenly, an unseen force grabs their girl companion. Right from the gang's grasp, Lynn laughs, telling the arrogant thug directly that his pride will cost him dearly. In fact, he is sending him straight to hell. The hooded bandit scowls with a dark sneer, wishing that none of Lynn's little squad survives this encounter. He vows to slaughter the priest first, completely ignoring the girls as easy prey. Then, the bald thug Baldy cackles like a maniac, mockingly pointing out how Lynn has abandoned his allies. Sue breaks out in cold sweat, her heart hammering against her ribs as she stares in absolute terror. Panic takes over. She is totally helpless, but Lynn calmly tells Mumu and Bai to fall back immediately. The enemy aura is turning pitch black. These desperate bandits have already sealed their grim bargain. With the devil, they traded away their humanity for the corrupt strength of the Abyss, a massive boost that dwarfs their original power levels. Lynn prepares to unleash his terrifying reverse magic, divine healing and indulgence of catastrophe. The young priest strikes first, even though he is outnumbered. The enemies charge forward, confident in their numbers. Their leader mockingly calls Lynn useless trash who cannot even target his healing spells correctly, telling his partner that these weaklings have top-tier gear waiting to be looted for themselves. But Lynn suddenly closes the distance, eyes burning with a freezing determination. He unleashes a crushing, physical strike right into the bald bandit, his hooded partner. Hanik's cold sweat dripping down his face as he frantically screams for help. He rushes to their support healer, demanding quick recovery, but the guy gasps out that it is impossible because he is already dead. The boss stands completely frozen in disbelief. How can a support priest under level 10 deal such devastating, godlike damage? The terrifying truth hits him. This boy must have brokered a pact with the Abyss Devil itself. Lynn is absolutely not some weak, everyday support class. He does not even feel human anymore. Shaking with raw terror, the boss commands everyone to run away. Lynn watches them scramble, a cold smirk spreading across his face as he yells, "Did you really think you could escape after what you have done? He will not let these demonic lackeys escape alive." Without hesitation, he activates his massive skill, Divine Starburst. Enveloped in blinding holy light, the escaping thieves scream out in pure agony. Lynn calculates his raw power with his passive damage multipliers, tearing down. Even a heavy defense boss takes just seconds. These trash mobs stand zero chance. They all must burn. Sue breaks the silence, warning that leaving the scene like this could lead to trouble, wondering if they should vaporize the remains too. Race their tracks before the professional alliance catches wind of the slaughter. Lynn calmly points out that no respectable alliance would ever admit to harboring black market smugglers. These bandits were strictly working on their own, completely detached from any official syndicate. Standing over Baldy, he sifts through his belongings and finds a locked stash of platinum and gold gear. Only the fallen can actually equip it. Lynn quietly reflects on his next move, but just as suddenly, a system notification announces that the giant gibbering forest is now open. Lynn smiles warmly, realizing this is a legendary Doom-level dungeon. This unbelievable opportunity makes him ecstatic, a level 10 nightmare dungeon. This forest was once used for a professional exam, but no team has cleared it in years. Dark Caster, this boss is a total nightmare for every single student. He stands as a massive roadblock, stopping even the very best professionals from advancing. Countless warriors banded together to challenge him, but not for simple experience. Instead, they desperately wanted to claim the key to the Forgotten Lair, a legendary drop. The key only drops by clearing the perdition level. As they walked, Sue noticed the giant, terrifying, gibbering forest looming right in front of them. She tightly clenched her fists, gasped, and asked if they were actually going inside. Knight turned to her with a warm smile, reassuring her that they definitely would. But first, they had to wait for Bai's crucial skills to recover. Their main goal was not just hitting level 10, but obtaining that legendary key. Bai asked what they would do with the bodies, since even burning leaves traces. Sue immediately suggested burying them, but then she paused to think for a quiet moment. She joked that having a handy necromancer around would make this much easier. The young man listened carefully, scratching his head without a response. Instead, he casually hoisted the unconscious bandits onto his broad shoulders, offering an easy solution. He suggested throwing them inside the dungeon to let them vanish when it resets. Mumu cheered, loving the brilliant idea and wondering why they had not done this sooner. Without another word, they tossed the defeated bandits straight into the active portal. With a great sense of accomplishment, Lynn checked his system notification and gave the order. They would go back to the academy to rest until Bai's skill recovered. Once her power was ready, they would immediately go and challenge the giant gibbering forest. The girls smiled and agreed to the plan. One day later, they met up. Sitting together in a cozy cafe, Sue noted they had not eaten this well lately. Knight told her not to worry, promising they would have plenty of cash soon. Soon they would feast every day. One of the girls closed her eyes in pure bliss. She happily stuffed her face with treats, as the guy suggested coming back often. Mumu quickly agreed, but then her bright expression suddenly turned a bit solemn and sad. She sighed, saying it was actually smarter to save their gold for gear instead. After all, she was not some reckless child who should blow her hard-earned money on food. Bai chimed in, mentioning she had some coins and offering to cover the bill. The shy girl looked a bit nervous, but the young man laughed and reassured her. He promised they would be rolling in cash soon. Just then, a waiter approached. The waiter greeted them politely and revealed that a wealthy gentleman had paid for everything. Lynn looked up in total shock, searching the crowded room for their benefactor. He wondered who would do such a thing. Right on cue, the man walked over. The stranger greeted the group warmly and politely introduced himself to the young team. His name was Shengenyang, the powerful leader of both the Profound Alliance and Living Sound. Lin quickly stood up to greet him, introducing himself as an academy student. He politely introduced the girls, explaining that they were all members of his squad. The blonde-haired leader smiled, inviting the entire party to join his elite guild. This would grant them an immediate pass straight into the highly prestigious professional alliance. The squad stared at Shengenyang in total disbelief, completely caught off guard. They never expected such an offer. Lin recovered first, replying they had not taken exams. Joining a professional alliance before passing the test seemed completely out of the question. People might claim he had stolen someone else's spot. Calmly, he began pouring a drink from the carafe into glasses, stating that he simply could not agree, and then remarked they had no plans of joining any team. The leader replied that he never expected such a flat refusal, but the strong always have their own personal reasons. Ian took a sip from his glass, hoping deeply that Knight would join their alliance at the earliest opportunity. He smiled and mentioned they could reach out to him whenever they needed help, adding that for purely selfish reasons, he really wanted to spar with Lin. Our hero smiled back, readily agreeing to the proposal because he found this person standing before him to be pretty interesting. Later, the young men gathered in the garden behind the academy, and our hero announced it was time to start clearing out. He instructed Bai to activate her special skill, which she did. System notification popped up, granting them a mysterious power along with the positive effect of the lucky goddess's gaze. Knight then announced he would using the key to unlock the gateway into the giant Ghibli forest. From the alerts, the system was processing the entry, but only seconds later the dungeon creaked open. The young hunters stood directly in front of the entrance, ready to dive inside to level up and claim epic rewards. A message appeared right before their eyes, displaying the exact features of the dungeon, including the level, difficulty, and lore. Sue piped up, warning them that rumor has it this forest is actually a remnant of a hidden world, torn away from a secret dungeon. It was accessible at level 8, but she noted that the overall difficulty here is nightmarish. Soon, the entire party gasped in unison at the bizarre creatures roaming inside. The scanned info revealed they were ghostly warriors equipped with moves like straight punches, jump kicks, throws, and cross punches. Mumu eagerly shouted to let them handle the two targets, themselves confident they could manage. Instantly, one of the girls unleashed the bionic tear skill, and the monster's total health and critical resist plummeted. Gi frowned, her mouth dropping wide in complete surprise, all because her offensive power had suddenly doubled. Charging forward, she launched relentless attacks, melting the monster's health pools. Knight shouted for her to be extremely careful and stay light on her feet. Secretly, he realized their high-tier gear was paying off, making her strength far surpass most academy students. Dodging a ferocious opponent, Bai gritted her teeth and pushed back with everything she had. Mumu wasn't slacking off either, slamming into another formidable beast nearby. Sue quickly channeled her unique skill, releasing her lethal poison bubbles while staying highly focused. Gi kept up the pressure with her signature flame slaughter skill, both attacks proving highly effective against their targets, blowing the ghostly soldiers into literal fragments. Suddenly, the entire party halted in their tracks as a dense purple mist rolled out from the shadows. Lin yelled out for everyone to steel themselves, warning them that the dungeon boss had finally arrived. A system screen materialized, detailing legendary white spirit rider of immense power. The towering creature was absolutely massive, dwarfing its standard soldier units. Without hesitation, Knight unleashed his ultimate skills, inverting the divine starburst and falling into hell. Mumu. She watched everything carefully, stammering to ask if it was already over. The guy stared intently ahead, replying that the battle was far from over. He told the girls to hold their ground to help rack up more bleeding damage, while Bai stood off to the side, carefully watching the chaos. Despite their best efforts, the massive beast remained completely whole and unharmed. It slowly approached the uninvited guests invading its territory, prompting G to immediately unleash her bionic tears and poison bubbles skills. Deciding that this was not enough, she added a flame slaughter spell. Boss's health bar slowly began to drop as a notification popped up. The target was poisoned and bleeding, but this monster was far from simple. It began rapidly healing itself, rendering all of Bai's physical strikes useless. It barely felt her hits as its strength and core stats surged. Seeing this massive power-up, Mumu asked if it was a passive ability belonging to the White Spirit Rider. noting its defensive boost. When its health dropped to 25%, its defenses went crazy. G. Wiped sweat from her face, shocked that a mere first boss was this insanely difficult. Lynn activated his clairvoyance technique, identifying this as an incredibly rare skill. He promised to draw the monster's attention himself, warning the girls to keep their distance so the threat wouldn't target them. Lynn quickly ducked behind some branches, shouting to draw the rider's aggro, while realizing his current cover was fully exposed but offered a clear shot. The distance was perfect. He knew a real knight would avoid ranged tactics, so he did not expect any thrown spears coming his way. Suddenly, a notification warned that the boss deployed its lion barrier skill. This powerful shield could absorb up to 300 units of physical and magical damage. Moments later, the boss activated its light thrower ability, aiming directly at Lynn, but despite the massive impact, he stood his ground firmly, even though the strike hit incredibly hard. New notification announced another strength inversion. Suddenly, the boss's attack speed and defense values went through the roof. The monster stared in absolute shock that its ultimate move had completely failed to crush him. Seizing the moment, Lynn triggered his reverse healing skill and rushed the opponent, but when that initial strike failed, he quickly adapted, choosing to deploy his offensive skills, readying his main weapon for close combat. He wasted absolutely no time, channeling every ounce of his inner energy before unleashing a flash skill directly at his foe. The boss reacted instantly, counterattacking with a grab move. Suddenly, a helpful system notification popped up, showing that his shimmering stone boosted all of Lynn's stats by 20 full points. He also unlocked a brand new active skill called Flicker, allowing him to instantly teleport 10 meters in any direction. Lynn smiled, knowing his secret plan was working perfectly. He launched a relentless assault, and the boss's health bar began to tank rapidly. Lynn realized that the beast's defensive skills were finally depleted, leaving it wide open for some heavy melee strikes. Sensing that its protective holy light had completely run out, the giant monster froze in place for a brief moment. The enemy turned and bolted. Mumu yelled out, asking if it was too late for him to escape. Knight, on the other hand, cheered happily that his skill cooldown had finally reset. He activated the inversion of Life Force Cataclysm right at that perfect moment. Within seconds, a system notification flashed, announcing a divine starburst inversion. The enemy was dragged straight down into a terrifying, fiery fall into hell. Notifications confirmed the White Spirit Rider was defeated, giving 8,600 experience. With those points, Lynn reached level 9, while Sue leveled up to 7. Lynn admitted he never expected the very first boss to be this brutal. The dungeon truly lived up to its name, Pedition, which Mumu completely agreed with. She realized that without Lynn, clearing this place would be impossible, even with diamond armor. Lynn, however, was already looking ahead, searching for where the second boss was hiding. Finding no signs around, the team was suddenly snatched up by a giant liana plant. The sudden ambush caught them completely off guard, but Lynn quickly figured it out. This giant vine was actually just a unique teleportation system. Knight yelled for the girls to prep their landings and avoid taking heavy damage. Everyone landed safely, and Lynn announced they were finally reaching the legendary Curse Master. Suddenly, Lynn shouted a loud, urgent warning to his teammates. Mumu gasped in absolute horror, her eyes and mouth wide with fear. Terrified, she frantically called out his name, while Bee started shaking in pure panic. Cold sweat poured down Bee's face as she let out a piercing scream. Right then, a terrifying system alert flashed, revealing the legendary Curse Master stood before them. Its stats proved this enemy was far stronger than the first boss. Standing just a few meters away, Lynn calmly confronted the terrifying creature. He told the beast he had been looking forward to this encounter for a long time. Sweat dripped down Lynn's face as he realized his dark suspicions were entirely correct. This creature could strike invisibly, and failing to dodge meant instant doom. Suddenly, a notification popped up, warning that the monster had entered combat state. Its weapon was now automatically enchanted to deal devastating magical damage. As the Curse Master stepped forward, its aura locked onto our brave hero. The boss's stats were now boosted to an incredibly dangerous level. The active system prompt revealed a spell capable of crushing even the strongest tank. Lynn noted the monster's insane speed and ordered the girls to block rather than dodge. Bai immediately listened to him, following his instructions without a second thought. Yet under the onslaught, the girl's health bars began to drain rapidly. She coughed heavily, feeling the boss's raw power and fearing she might die. She could tell that this terrifying moonlight energy was not even its strongest skill. Mumu quickly pulled her close and began feeding her healing potions. Thankfully, she had stocked up on plenty of recovery items beforehand. As Lin aggressively attacked, Su realized he could not switch to healer mode. He was locked in combat and could not heal them right now. He kept landing heavy blows on the massive boss, knowing it was their target. He unleashed Life Force Inversion, Cataclysm, and his signature capture technique. Under this relentless assault, the monster's health bar finally began to drop. Mumu was shocked that his 3 strikes only took a third of its health. She realized that even with upgraded gear, this beast was an absolute nightmare. Relying solely on her current gear was risky, so she immediately activated her best skills. The beast's health barely budged, it was a mere scratch. This weak hit only fueled its rage, our hero watched. It was time for a flashy play, he lunged right in. He struck with immense force, but the creature held its ground. It retaliated instantly, unleashing a devastating rising dragon strike right on him. Pressing the advantage, the boss followed up with a brutal triple punch combo. Within seconds, the hero's face contorted in pain as a massive blow landed. A critical strike directly to his neck. Feeling victorious, the monster kept up the pressure. The watching girls were utterly paralyzed with fear, unable to speak. They stood wide-eyed and breathless. Fortunately, our hero recovered in an instant. He instantly healed himself, flashing a confident grin as he told them. No one should underestimate a master of curses. Privately, he admitted that he needed to be way more careful. He quickly initiated a grab. The boss was completely caught off guard by this sudden grappling move. As it turned, a glowing system prompt warned the team of a shift. The priest had successfully taunted the cursed master. The young leader yelled, "Stick to the battle plan." Mumu immediately called out in agreement. While Knight focused on holding the boss, he kept his goal in mind. He had to power him up, while Su and Ji focused on offense. The young man knew he had to force the boss to exhaust its arsenal. After all, this particular enemy grew stronger when hit by skill attacks. A smirk spread across Lin's face as he analyzed the situation. Even with the perdition difficulty boosting its health and defense, they just needed time. The confused monster paused, and a system notification flashed across their screens. Its target had shifted, its health bar was steadily draining away. The cursed master slowly marched straight toward Bai, who was hiding behind a tree. A sudden life force inversion triggered a massive cataclysm, vaporizing the beast's HP. Knight boldly charged forward, shouting for the cursed master to face him. He reminded the boss that he was its true opponent, staring it down fiercely. Vowing to protect his allies at all costs, he roared with rage. With a fierce battle cry, he unleashed his ultimate skill, Glory of Stars. The boss's health plummeted into the red, it barely held its weapon. With one final push, it would collapse. Suddenly, a notification appeared. The beast was dead, awarding them 9,300 experience points. With the boss cleared, the dungeon difficulty dropped from perdition to nightmare. Our young hero watched the rewards roll in, his eyes widening. He stared in utter disbelief at the final quest cleared message. Defeating a boss without taking any damage, that unlocked an absolutely legendary bonus. They had unlocked the cursed master summon. Bai quickly ran over. She marveled at how fast he won, asking if he could summon him now. She pointed out that the entire dungeon difficulty had plummeted. He smiled, telling her that this was a victory for the entire team. But deep down, he knew that absolutely no one had ever cleared this boss. The sheer value of their reward was bound to be completely off the charts. With their injuries patched up and a lucky buff active, Mumu yelled for everyone to look. The system screen was flashing, proving this was far from the end of their journey. A glowing system notification appeared, granting them immediate access to a disaster-level area. They had unlocked the Forgotten Lair, finally meeting all the necessary requirements. Soon, the Watcher of Original Sin would open the gate. Su gasped in shock, but Knight calmly asked if she forgot their main goal. They absolutely needed to secure the key to that very same Forgotten Lair. He explained that completing hidden quests was the secret to gaining clearance, though he admitted he had no idea how it affected other active professions. Mumu shrugged, saying they were only helping and did not need to worry about the master. Still, Lin wondered aloud if they actually had enough real training for this. The young man pointed out their final target was the last giant in the woods. He quietly admired the beautiful forest scenery, even as the ultimate threat drew near. This second boss was easily the strongest creature in the entire dungeon. Though it was massive, it was also incredibly slow and relied on predictable moves. The last giant, no one knew why it was even here. Other odd traits were listed too. Suddenly, Vice shrieked at its colossal size. Panicking, he demanded to know their plan. Lynn quickly told everyone to breeze. He warned that panicking was fatal, especially since this opponent was sluggish. Its attack speed was slow, awkwardly swinging its heavy limbs as it lumbered forward. It might try to crush them underfoot. Bai wanted to charge, but Knight stopped her. Lynn realized they could pull off the exact same strategy here. He suggested calling upon the powerful Master of Curses to assist them once more. No hesitation, our hero quickly summoned the Dark Spirit to the field. As the summon approached, a system prompt revealed its level 15 strength. It was just as powerful as before. Lynn frowned, ready to fight. He ordered the summon to attack, and the two massive beasts finally collided. Total confusion, the giant actually froze in place for a moment. A moment later, a devastating beam of pure moonlight struck him directly. He crashed to the ground, health bar dropping. The summon kept pressing. Knight urged Mumu to unleash her strongest direct attacks right now. Bai backed her up with supportive skills. Instantly, a team-wide buff active message popped up. Their attack power was boosted. Su immediately unleashed her fire sword energy. Next, she activated her favorite bionic tears to shred the opponent. The onslaught was relentless, quickly draining the giant's remaining health pool. "It is time to finish this," Lin shouted, executing his falling into hell skill. Victory erupted. A notification confirmed the last giant boss was defeated. The victory earned their party a massive sum of 8,000 points. Furthermore, Knight finally climbed to level 10, while Su reached level 8. Honestly, who wouldn't be thrilled? Knight definitely did not expect this massive jump. Mumu pumped her fists in the air, cheering that he had reached level 10. Notification confirmed all hidden trials were complete, doubling their experience points. I smiled warmly, admitting she had never witnessed such a generous reward boost before. The loot was tallied up under the gaze of the lucky goddess's passive skill. With that divine blessing active, the treasure chest finally materialized before them. The rewards upgraded to diamond tier, and players also received a platinum chest. Instantly, a prompt popped up. Would they open them? The girls hugged, and Mumu cheered for Vi's useful skill. She was insanely happy. Lin calmly noted that Ji had massive potential. That was exactly why he recruited her. Suddenly, a brand new notification flashed on screen. The diamond chest opened. Boom, a legendary diamond skill was theirs. They all got 15 free stat points. Next up, a platinum chest opened, more free points. Plus platinum gear like Giant's Heart, adding 15 to all stats. It grants Giant Strength. Next was Lime Core, adding crucial shield penetration. This effect significantly boosts the weapon's physical attack power. Meanwhile, the Lightning Scroll infuses extra magical lightning damage. Then came the White Spirit Rider's Keras, Perfect Knight Armor. It boosts overall strength and defense. There was also a powerful spear. This spear boosts strength and works as a throwing weapon. Finally, Tide of the Blue Sea is an exclusive priest skill. It restores health to all allies. Lin rubbed his beard, smiling. He definitely liked this drop. Suddenly, a strange, powerful wind began to howl around them. But Lin just stood there completely unfazed, deep in thought. Look at that, his Tide of the Blue Sea skill inverted completely. A deadly wave of death would now sweep across the entire field. Lin realized his inversion talent did not just buff his allies. Instead, it became chaotic, though it vastly boosted his overall speed. Now that Tide of the Blue Sea was a damage-dealing spell. The negative status effects would heavily punish any nearby enemies. Lin stared intently ahead, anticipating debuffs like stat reduction, massive health drain, and dizziness. He confirmed that the skill was successfully learned. Incredible. Notification finalized, and Lin could not hide his immense excitement. Learning crowd control spells like this would definitely be his main focus moving forward. Mastering control of the battlefield was going to be vital. Lin remembered how an advanced talent could completely change its nature. Smiling confidently, he resolved to master this power and make it his own. The final word would belong to him. Lin then turned to the girls. Sorting the rest of the loot could wait until they got safely outside. He also planned to inform Changyuni Shengyan about the Dark Cursemaster's sudden disappearance. On top of that, the dungeon's overall difficulty level had dropped significantly. Lin pointed out this would cause a massive stir. Prepare for chaos. The next day, the academy principal was in absolute disbelief. Lynn Knight had actually killed a Cursemaster in the giant forest. He asked if he understood correctly about the perdition-level dungeon. The Alliance fully confirmed the sweep shortly after Lin got in touch. Ian pointed out that only 73 top-tier professionals had ever set foot inside. Of those, 24 died inside. The rest gave up halfway through. Absolutely nobody made it past that point or tried a second time. It was not a matter of choice, but absolute survival impossibility. To handle the onslaught, Mr. Huang thinks they should wait until Lin is stuck at level 15, and then the Alliance will fully support this talented pro, but everything depends on his performance inside the dungeon. The principal agrees that things are fine so far, but adds that all students owe Lin a massive debt of gratitude. The old man suggests holding a meeting to reward him, noting he already brought up the idea of sealing off the dungeon entrance, though every other party opposed the decision entirely. The man in glasses argues that students who cannot handle these challenges must be weeded out, claiming the Alliance won't raise useless trash who are unfit to become professionals. The principal is merely pondering the situation and points out they already expelled several students because of Lin. Ian waves his fan with a smile. It won't happen again. Suddenly, Mumu bursts into the office, frantically apologizing while holding out her phone. They have a massive problem, pointing out a viral forum post targeting Lena, she says. The confidential news they sent to the Alliance is leaking everywhere, she warns. That Lin is the Academy's most outstanding student and a bright future. Pro handpicked directly by the Alliance, representing the entire Academy's ultimate future. She's shaking with pure anxiety, begging the principal to intervene before things get worse. The principal reassures her. We understand, he says. Meanwhile, Ian frowns, saying he will verify these claims. He opens the page, only to find toxic comments, calling the young man a straight-up villain. Many believe he made a deal with the devil. Another post claims to have inside connections, as a teacher allegedly confirms Lin has dark ties to the abyss. Things get incredibly tense as the public demands Lin face demonic energy test. The principal decides to investigate this whistleblower teacher himself. Mr. Huang laughs, pointing out it is hard to say if that teacher even exists in reality. Ian squints, suggesting this whole rumor is just a cheap fabrication designed by their political opponents, meaning they must release a joint statement, though that alone probably won't cut it. Suddenly, Lin walks right into the room, declaring he wants to take the demonic energy test himself. Soon, news broadcasts announce that the Academy and the Alliance strongly condemn these rumors, calling the whistleblower's claims brazen, dirty lie. Officials declare that the rumor monger has already confessed, proving Lin is completely innocent. Meanwhile, over at the Now Watch, a massive crowd of hungry reporters is waiting outside. They immediately bombard our hero with questions. Lin just stares straight ahead, listening to them ask if he voluntarily stepped forward for this demonic energy test. Suddenly, cold sweat breaks out on the reporters' faces. They grow incredibly nervous. The young man calmly walks past them, saying that they are far too timid to be real reporters. The journalists start bickering, confused about why they felt so terrified just now. One points out a colleague is doubting the Alliance, urging everyone to calm down since they are live. Meanwhile, Lin enters the testing chamber for demonic energy. The examiner instructs him to step into the sacred circle. Moving without a word, Lin complies with the officer, quietly unbuttoning his outer coat. Suddenly, a flashing system notification alerts everyone that the demonic energy scan is active. Standing close by, a spectator mutters that an elite hunter like Lin shouldn't even endure this. He grumbles that jealous haters simply refuse to recognize absolute, unmatched genius. After all, actual top-tier professionals already have complete faith in his undeniable skill. Lin only offers a calm smile, admitting he was actually curious about the scan himself. Besides, he doesn't care much for those ridiculous, online rumors anyway. His only real goal is to put his worried friends at ease. He just wants them to stop constantly worrying and stressing over his dark powers. The inspector sighs, better hope this goes well, or we'll be forced to detain you. Lin simply nods. He closes his eyes, patiently waiting for this boring test to finish. The inspectors watch the screen intensely. Cold sweat is practically dripping down their tense faces. Finally, the system flashes green. The scan is completely finished. To their utter shock, Lin's total demonic energy is exactly 0%. Absolutely zero corruption. The junior testers cheer instantly while their senior officer beams. He laughs that this is incredible news and immediately starts printing out the official document. Meanwhile, the livestream chat is absolutely exploding with millions of shocked viewers. Haters can't believe it. How could his corruption level be completely empty? While fans mock the trolls, Lin calmly announces he is posting his full status profile. He challenges any doubters to step up, gear up, and duel him face to face. Out in the city, Xiafeng is completely losing his mind, screaming at his phone. How could they believe that trash? He's clearly manipulating them with forbidden black magic. Muttering like a maniac, Xiafeng sprints through the streets, desperate to warn the others. Later, Lin walks down a quiet alley, wearing a relaxed, easygoing smile. But lurking right around the corner, Xiafeng is secretly tailing his target. He sneers to himself, mocking how far Lin has fallen, buying cheap street tea. But in the blink of an eye, Lin completely vanishes from his sight. As Xiafeng panics, a sudden, heavy tap hits his shoulder from behind, making him jump. Lin asks if he is a common stalker, and Xiafeng shrieks in terror. Lin dryly notes that following someone in the dark is far more suspicious. Xiafeng snaps back. A corrupt hunter doesn't get to preach to him about morality. He steps closer, demanding to know if Lin has allied with dark abyssal demons. Lin looks mildly amused, simply denying any such demonic alliance. Internally, he remembers the dungeon raid, amusement coloring his silent thoughts. He did send 2 pathetic demons packing, after all. Xiafeng starts shrieking. He yells at Lin to show some respect, claiming he practically owned the dungeon key. He threatens to report Lin to the Hunter Alliance to get him blacklisted permanently. Lin sighs, asking if Xiafeng genuinely believes an abyss demon is stalking him. Like some low-tier demons somehow seduced him, and he just willingly went along with it. As if he would ever succumb to some pathetic, crawling shadow beast. Xiafeng scoffs, muttering that weak dungeon monsters could never make a genius surrender. He boasts proudly that he was born to be the ultimate protagonist of this world. He has wealth, good looks, and zero need for cheap demonic handouts. Lin stares at him, internally amused that he easily stole the guy's top ranking. Yet his rival's sheer, delusional arrogance is honestly getting pretty exhausting. Liu checked his stats, amazed that Huan resisted the demon's dark temptations. It was a surprising feat, and Liu could not help but feel respect. He even approached the kid, explaining that he also despised those abyss demons. Liu explained that his unique talents were completely out of the monster's reach. But Huan simply screamed back in disbelief, causing Liu to sigh in frustration. Maybe it was time to call Han Chenki to lock his annoying son up again. Right then, Liu got an alert that the online rumor spreader was caught. The support group reported that the liar was even reselling Liu's private guides. Liu wondered who would do such a thing, and the answer shocked him. It was Xiao Yuan, a classmate of theirs. Liu instantly ordered a ban. He wanted the thief blacklisted from buying gear, demanding they gather the evidence. This proof would go straight to the school forum to expose the thief's actions. Though some hot-headed club members wanted to beat up Xiao Yuan, Liu intervened. He warned them that if the thief felt cornered, he might leak their secrets. Keeping those hidden guide files safe was crucial for securing the best rewards. To counter any leak, Liu announced the upcoming release of his new guide. This walkthrough for the Land of Bones dungeon would change the game entirely. He shared a quick sneak peek online, sending shockwaves through his classmates. Liu then posted a stern warning to anyone thinking of buying pirated guides. Anyone caught sharing stolen copies would lose access to his future work. Soon after, an official notice confirmed the deletion of all unauthorized files. Xiao Yuan read the harsh notice, realizing the extreme consequences of his actions. Anyone trying to resell Liu's guides would be permanently banned from the community. Even their accomplices would face a block, leaving Xiao Yuan utterly helpless. The thief gritted his teeth in anger, seeing his easy cash grab completely dry up. Yet a few clueless online defenders actually called the thief a heroic figure. A massive argument broke out, with most users defending Liu's hard work. They refused to let a cheap pirate profit off someone else's immense efforts. A few greedy players argued that everyone had to hustle to survive. But Liu's loyal supporters were just thrilled to receive a free trial version. Many even begged to join his group just to get early guide access. Reading the heated chat, several girls watched the online drama unfold in shock. They realized that unauthorized copies would be deleted on site from now on. As Liu calmly walked upstairs, his notifications exploded with new signups. Everyone wanted to join his platform now that the real secrets were dropping. Subscribers flooded his group at an absolutely mind-blowing pace. It had quickly evolved into a powerful network rather than a fan club. Liu realized that sometimes a smart strategy works far better than raw force. Using his brain had successfully secured him a steady, long-term source of income. With his finances finally locked down, Liu decided to review his character screen. Instantly, a bright system screen flickered to life right before his eyes. Liu stared in surprise at a weird exclamation mark next to his talent. Curious, he tapped the icon to reveal the full breakdown of his skill. He studied the detailed description, weighing his options carefully for the future. For now, Liu decided to hold off on upgrading it until later. After wrapping up his professional trial, Lin realized his stats were about to explode. Reaching level 10 pushed his intelligence near 150, and he wanted his other stats to match. He aimed to max his agility, spirit, physique, and strength without relying on gear bonuses. To get there, he messaged Zhao Jihan about sourcing high-tier weapons, necklaces, and greaves. The merchant replied that fulfilling such specific requests would be tough, but he would try his best. 10 minutes later, Zhao Jihan sent over his full inventory, letting Lin take his pick. He told the young man to choose anything he liked, but some items just didn't fit. The greaves were useless to him, and the heavy weapons were only good for selling off. So he requested a specialized priest weapon, alongside the upgrade stones needed for level 10 gear. Zhao Jihan admitted he couldn't source all of it instantly, causing a tense silence. Lin kept quiet. He couldn't exactly tell Zhao Jihan he was heading straight to the Deadlands. Luckily, Zhao Jihan messaged back soon after, promising to organize all the requested gear as fast as possible. He calculated the total cost for the forging materials and the exchange of his old equipment. Lin immediately transferred the required gold. A system notification popped up, displaying the details of his new bone necklace. He also checked the powerful attributes of his new white bird jade pendant. Finally, Lin acquired the star healing staff he desperately needed to survive the upcoming dungeons. With his inventory fully loaded, the young man couldn't wait to start forging. He sat down immediately. It was time to upgrade his entire loadout. Lin focused all his energy, knowing a single mistake could ruin the high-tier materials. Success, his demonic emperor outfit and star healing staff flashed with brilliant level 10 power. Next, he easily upgraded both the bone necklace and the white bird jade pendant he wore. Both accessories reached level 10, completing his massive gear upgrade. Lin stared intently at his brand new stats, satisfied that this gear would absolutely carry him through. With this gear, surviving the Deadlands was highly realistic. Scoring a triple S rank in that treacherous place should yield incredible rewards, though the risks were just as extreme. It was high risk, high reward. Suddenly, a strange sound shattered his focus. Lin instantly tensed up, trying to pinpoint where the noise originated. Stepping into the hallway, he spotted Sumumu, scratched his head, and called out her name. Sumumu jumped in shock, her face turning red as she wondered how he got inside. She was using his bathroom because the hot water in her room was broken. Blushing furiously, Lin rubbed his neck, saying it was fine and offering to turn around. Sumumu smiled, assuring him it was fine, before asking if he had a moment. He agreed, but insisted she dry her wet hair first so she wouldn't catch a cold. It was a sweet, caring moment, and she nodded in agreement with a warm smile. After getting changed, Sumumu sat down, and Lin asked why she looked so serious. Sumumu explained that Bai Zhai was really struggling with her two-handed swordsman class. The heavy playstyle just did not suit the little girl in many ways. Even managing her newly acquired gear was proving to be a massive chore. Lin was surprised, noting that she had never complained to him about the difficulty. In fact, he had watched her wield that oversized blade with relative ease. He suggested that if they could acquire a class change certificate, she could switch jobs. That way, Bai Zhai could finally choose a class that actually suited her. Lin promised to ask Huang Tianyi about securing one, but emphasized she must be absolutely sure. Sumumu sighed with relief, genuinely glad that her friend had a way out. She promised to return soon. Knight then asked if there was anything else she wanted to say. And it was not just about goodbye. Mumu paused, looking down, completely lost for words. Under his direct gaze, the young man clarified that he was only asking about her. She called him a complete fool, demandingly asking how he had managed to figure her out. She then begged him not to laugh at whatever she was about to tell him. He predictably started chuckling, making her even madder before she finally managed to quiet down. That was when she noticed he was level 11, since his talent awakened though. They had grown distant, Sue knew it, but she still remembered their close bond. They had practically been together since childhood. Deep down, she always believed that even after their special talents awakened, they would still remain the absolute best, most reliable partners. But now, Mumu admitted she felt like he simply did not need her anymore. He could secure hidden rewards alone and be the center of attention. She felt like she was merely following his commands, doing minor chores he could easily handle himself. Tears began welling in her eyes, but she insisted she was happy for him, despite the massive gap between them growing ever wider. Back inside the dark dungeon, she just felt like a useless burden, unable to support the team. He placed his hand gently on Mumu's head, telling her she was overthinking. She retorted that he was dense and did not understand, saying he had no idea what it felt like to desperately chase after someone while feeling more and more helpless. Sue fell silent. For a moment, she firmly declared she would no longer depend on him. Lynn raised his finger, pointing out that if that was the case, she had to become far more disciplined starting right now. That meant 0 snacks, no late dinners, waking up early, and hard practice. Mumu shrieked, asking if agility training was not just about saving up points. He asked if she really believed she had enough. He reached out with a strange item, instructing her to take it. Sue was stunned. It was the heart of a giant, and she could not believe the young man was actually handing it over. Lynn noted that the item was perfect for her class transition, doubling its effectiveness, and told her to start believing in herself because her talent held limitless potential. Touched, Mumu readily agreed that snacks were banned starting today. Knight knew she simply needed solid support to grow. She suddenly hugged him, asking him to test the potential for her bionic tears. She giggled, promising she could massage, cook, and clean, acting exactly like a playful little cat, hoping he would appreciate her devotion. Lynn started shouting in sheer panic. Meanwhile, Bai was standing right outside the open door, though nobody knew exactly how much of their playful conversation she had overheard. As she stepped inside, Mumu quickly asked if Tia was there. Lynn thanked her for coming, deeply appreciating it. Bai then asked the young man if he was headed to the land of death right now, wondering if perhaps he wanted another day of rest. Suddenly, a system alert popped up for Lynn, notifying him of an unknown power with a unique buff. He told Bai that he was fully recovered and the girls should rest instead. He suggested they could watch a movie and use their stone key to summon a temporary secret realm and open the portal. A new system message confirmed that the highest difficulty level had been selected. Lynn announced his departure, leaving Mumu looking completely terrified for what lay ahead. She saw this was a disaster-class dungeon, which the system screen quickly confirmed. This extreme difficulty tier was far beyond anything the level and a 8 had to offer. The jump in difficulty was massive, but Lynn noticed there were no hidden traps. No instant death traps appeared, which was completely unexpected. Suddenly, system alerts warned that his raw energy was waking up the monsters. They were active. A massive undead legion was heading straight for him. A massive army of undead rose up and began marching slowly toward our hero. Right as they closed in, the legendary holy saber crown of red flames suddenly materialized before him. This divine weapon granted Lynn an absolute surge of incredible new physical power. Still, Lynn made a mental note that he would try his best to avoid using it inside this dungeon. But the system alerts kept coming, flashing brand new rules. A set of special rules to clear the country of death appeared before him. Scanning the terms, Lynn triggered his star flipping skill. He immediately struck the monsters, leaving them screaming that he was not human. No mere human could ever summon the literal flames of hell, they cried. Lynn loudly shouted his coup de grace skill. In literally 1 second, an entire legion of 1,340 undead was completely vaporized. Monsters crushed, and Lynn just smiled, realizing his upgraded stats are totally unfair. His celestial robes boosted healing by 90%. Clearing them in 1 second, he did not need his blue sea skill. But a brand new system message popped up, warning of another incoming undead army. Chugging a potion, Lynn realized he seriously owed his two incredible teammates a massive debt of gratitude. Another screen popped up. It boosted his speed, alongside a Wind Falcon egg pill for agility. He bolted forward as a massive horde of monsters chased him. A massive swarm of monsters roared behind him, desperately trying to catch up. Turning the tide of the Blue Sea, he instantly triggered a brand new system alert. The message confirmed that every single enemy was now trapped in a soul-burning state. Their attack power plummeted as he scanned the active area. He spotted the Altar of Death constantly summoning beasts. But that was far from the only danger lurking inside this dark chamber. The zombie butcher appeared, a highly dangerous and mysterious monster. Lynn quickly unleashed his coup de grace of clarity to seize control. With the butcher successfully controlled, he calculated the 30 seconds he now needed. He directed his new beast army at the others. Ordering them to slaughter each other, Lynn prepared yet another highly effective skill. He used his coup de grace kidnapping technique. Next, he immediately unleashed his star flipping skill, releasing inner hellfire. The Altar of Death shattered completely, instantly halting all undead summoning nearby. A report confirmed the destruction, prompting Lynn to strike back. He quickly launched his abduction technique against the remaining group of monsters. System notifications soon confirmed that the divided zombie butchers had been fully defeated. But the Skeleton King and the Eternal Lick had already awakened. Lynn realized that even on disaster difficulty, his current upgraded strength reigned supreme. Even with the restrictions, it was not actually that terrifying with his current setup. Solo play was totally doable, and the young man stood ready to roll. He yelled for the Master of Curses to show up, since that was his target. A system prompt flashed, a level 15 cursed Dark Knight had been summoned. Lynn hopped right onto his back like a horse. Suddenly, another alert popped up. The undead were officially awakening. The young man stood tall on the back of a massive dragon, flying straight ahead with absolutely zero intention of stopping. Before long, he pulled up right before a massive throne where a monster waited. It was the Skeleton King, the powerhouse buffing all nearby undead. He commanded endless hordes to hunt down intruders. Beside him stood an Eternal Lick, a creature who chose the realm of death and turned himself undead. Using dark necromancy, this guy was way smarter than your average brainless skeleton. Now he stood directly in Lynn's path, but our main character was not backing down. He slammed his weapon down, shouting to his massive summon to take them out. The Cursed Knight acknowledged him as master, letting out a heavy, dark breath. While casting a curse, moments later, Lynn raised his hand and gave the signal. He told his knight to start the job. The Eternal Lick's eyes went wide. Shocked, his massive mouth opened wide, exposing terrifying jagged teeth. The knight charged. Lynn backed him up instantly, unleashing a powerful skill called Moonstrike. The nearby monsters shrieked in terror. Seriously, watching these smug guys panic is pure gold. A massive cursed shield materialized in the knight's grip. It was designed to reflect all magic damage taken within 3 seconds straight back to the caster. Terrified, the Eternal Lick screamed at the top of his lungs for help. He pleaded with the Skeleton King, literally trembling, but the king just sat there, his hollow eyes glowing with green fire as he slowly opened his mouth. The knight tapped his weapon on the floor, locking his gaze onto his target. Lynn also activated his tide flipping skill, turning the sea of undead on itself. System alerts flooded the screen. The Skeleton King was rapidly falling into decay. He entered a state of extreme withering, which was quickly followed by overwhelming weakness. The knight delivered a dragon upward strike, 3 consecutive blows. That left the monster completely dazed, but the onslaught was far from over. Next came the Cursed Blast skill, making the Skeleton King howl in agony. The Eternal Lick gasped, his jaw twisting as he warned of an incoming black hole. He immediately launched a desperate, frantic assault straight against Lynn's summon. The knight managed to dodge at the very last second, though he still took a minor hit. Seeing this, the Lick cackled with joy. Talk about celebrating way too early. He felt victorious, but the knight pressed the attack. Lynn warned his summon to be extremely careful. The undead were self-destructing, planning to take him down with them. A massive explosion ripped through the area. System messages immediately popped up. He sacrificed his own soul, dropping his health to 0 to trigger a massive wave of freezing magic, yet the knight stood firm beside the fallen Skeleton King, reporting back. he confirmed that Target 1 was officially down. Lynn looked at the remains of his enemy and smiled, a great job indeed. But just as they relaxed, a strange, chilling breeze swept through the area. Our hero looked up and calmly muttered that disaster was officially descending. With its last breath, the monster sneers that he is foolish and true despair awaits. Just then, a flashing system message pops up with a crucial update. Defeating the Skeleton King and the Eternal Lick met all completion requirements. Our hero walks over to the exhausted knight, ready to help him. He casts a quick healing spell to patch up his severe injuries. The knight checks his heavy armor while the guy casts clarity. Next, he aims his weapon directly at the altar of death to shatter it. Suddenly, reports of a dangerous Darkwing dragon surface before them. This legendary beast was once the companion of the Dark Cursed Knight. Our hero assures his ally that destroying the altar ends the undead threat. They can quickly wipe out the remaining monsters and head out. Staring ahead, his eyes narrow as he quickly spots a major threat. He calmly announces there are only 2 boss monsters left to deal with. They should eliminate them tonight to save the hassle of hunting later. Right on cue, a massive beast screeches loudly and charges at them. Toth warns his companion to stay alert because they have been spotted. The monster howls a terrifying, unnatural roar that promises to devour them completely. But they manage to dodge the highly lethal strike at the last second. Standing back, they stare up at their massive, terrifying opponent, a death dragon. Once revered, the Necropolis King raised this terrible beast from the dead. The flashing system window details its dark history, but some stats remain hidden. Its strength, endurance, and speed are completely off the charts and unmeasurable. Behind those glowing eyes, another terrifying threat slowly steps out from the shadows. The system screen identifies this new foe as the dreaded Daughter of Death. She was once an elven pathfinder, but Lynn calmly questions his ally. He asks which monster is scarier, refusing to let them block his path. Dodging to the side, he prepares to unleash his powerful high-level skills. He instantly activates Reverse Starlight, illuminating fallen hell to strike. Next, he channels Reverse Azure Flow, causing the elven daughter to glare angrily. Calling him a mere human ant, she demands how he dares ambush her. The knight watches closely, wondering if they can still turn the tide. But our hero is fully ready to show them what a real surprise is. He launches a brutal offensive, shattering the stone ground all around them. Dust and debris fly everywhere as the Daughter of Death laughs in amusement. She mocks his decent effort, but he suddenly reacts with lightning reflexes. He catches her lethal arrow midair, converting the strike into instant healing. The elven fiend shrieks in pure disbelief, screaming that this is impossible. Her direct shot was supposed to pierce his heart, yet it failed completely to hurt him. Is he completely immune to her power? She panics, turning to her ally. She orders the great dragon of death to launch the first attack. The beast instantly obeys her command and charges directly at the opponents. But to her absolute shock, Lynn's health points only shoot straight up. He stands there perfectly unfazed, calmly staring down his massive, shocked opponents. Escaping never even crosses his mind. The furious Daughter of Death pulls back, her bowstring to maximum power, while the knight watches on in absolute awe. Suddenly, the knight charges right in front of her, intercepting the arrow in a flash. The monster gets absolutely furious, realizing she cannot let this annoying shield-bearer get any closer. She screams at the top of her lungs, commanding every nearby undead to rise up. Their only instruction is to block the enemy at all costs. The mindless beasts obey. They lunged to restrain the heavy knight, but failed as he threw himself forward. He crashes directly into the Daughter of Death, making her shriek in an unnatural voice. A silent spell locks her down, her health pool drops. She glares ahead in pure desperation, veins popping in her eyes. She shrieks that they are nothing but foolish traitors who only know close-range combat. Desperate to survive, she grabs a knight and slaps a strange device onto his back. She screams with a twisted grin that she will force them to kill themselves. This is a control talisman, designed to seize the minds of weaker living targets. The weaker the prey, the longer it lasts, and she immediately issues a self-destruct command. With the knight forced to end his own life, the Daughter of Death draws her bow. She laughs, yelling that even a single second of control is more than enough. She unloads a barrage of strikes onto the confused, defenseless knight. His health bar tanks. Look at this tension, the main knight bellows for him to guard. He screams at him to activate his ultimate defensive stance before it is too late. The knight summons a massive black shield, greatly slowing his speed due to its weight. It reduces incoming damage by 70%, infuriating the Daughter of Death. She hates how he survived her burst, but vows to bypass that shield anyway. Wasting no time, she maneuvers around the barrier and renews her deadly assault. His health bar drops fast as she attacks him relentlessly. The boss gloats, knowing he has no health left and will die in seconds. She plans to kill his friend next, but wait, her body suddenly freezes in pain. A powerful reverse ghost-binding spell hits her, locking her limbs completely in place. Lynn stares at her coldly, mockingly asking what she was bragging about earlier. He cleanses the debuff, restoring the knight's health, and asks who is dying now. Unable to break free from her bindings, the Daughter of Death screams in terror. She screams, completely unable to comprehend what is happening now. She stares at Lynn, utterly baffled by how he is even breathing right now. But he has no intention of explaining himself to a dying monster. He activates an interrupt skill, immediately followed by his devastating dragon strike. He looks at her and mutters his final words as the magic peaks. A massive explosion erupts, scattering shredded pieces of her everywhere. A system notification pops up in front of him, confirming the clean kill. The notice confirms the demise of the Dragon of Death, but she is not done. Utterly bewildered, she stutters in shock before screeching at him with pure hatred. She shrieks that they have absolutely no honor or fighting ethics at all. Lynn remains totally unfazed, quietly preparing his next massive spirit reversal spell. He unleashes Descending Calamity, triggering another earth-shattering blast that rocks the area. Debris and dirt fly everywhere as Lynn ruthlessly obliterates her remains. With the boss dead, he tells the knight to handle the northwest sector. Lynn takes the southeast path himself, demanding a swift, complete purge. He knows that fully clearing this zone is their only ticket out of here. At the altar, Lynn knew this would be over quickly, although the dungeon was special. It wasn't as difficult as expected. He activated his skill, reversing. The tides of the azure seem to dominate the massive sea of undead. They would clear this dungeon in less than 10 minutes, with more than enough time. Before long, Lynn stood victorious on a mountain of defeated skeletons. They no longer posed any threat. Lynn received a notification of his victory, having wiped out the remaining undead to complete the first 4 quests. Still, as he stared ahead, an unsettling feeling began to take hold. Something felt incredibly wrong here. Suddenly, a new notification flashed before him. The avatar of the two-winged angel Kuro was about to descend, unlocking the 5th quest, titled Choosing Destiny. A few seconds later, Lynn saw massive white wings rapidly descending. A system warning popped up, asking if he would choose to accept divine favor and receive a reward from the angel Kuro, sacrifice his souls to the undead, and leave. But a moment later, another option flashed on the system screen. It suggested he defeat Kuro's shadow avatar instead, making Lynn wonder what this meant. Was there a hidden boss lurking here? The choice prompt appeared once more. He needed to make his decision. Lynn recalled reading that defeating the avatar of the angel Kuro would grant him an elusive Q-tier dungeon rating. Wait, a rating higher than S. This was completely unheard of. Lynn wondered if other adventurers knew about this or kept it a secret. He stared ahead, his mind racing with possibilities as he weighed his options. But his thoughts were cut short as a sudden system alert appeared. The Dark Cursed Knight was no longer on the battlefield. A summoning recharge occurred. Lynn felt the overwhelming pressure in the air. But according to the system, he might not even have to fight. Scanning the area, Lynn searched for Kuro's avatar and quickly spotted him. A status window for the angel immediately materialized. Fighting Kuro was highly discouraged, and all of the boss's skills were hidden. The angel smiled down at Lynn, praising him for a job well done. Representing the Holy Kingdom, Kuro expressed his gratitude, declaring the undead must rest in the ground forever. The angel then commanded Lynn to surrender the holy sword and the crown of scarlet flame before departing. But Lynn boldly asked if he was getting a reward for clearing the monsters. The angel grew furious, asking if this mere mortal dared question him. He snapped that humans should show gratitude, telling Lynn to get lost. The angel warned him to stop interfering. Lynn realized they used humans as cannon fodder. They weren't divine protectors at all, just selfish gods looking down on mortals. So he mockingly asked if there was anything else left to clear, and declared that the credit belonged to him. He activated Universe Flip. Kuro roared, calling Lin an insignificant ant for defying the divine decree. He screamed that serving the Holy Kingdom was a mortal's greatest reward. But Lin's greed would be his downfall. Suddenly, the angel's face twisted. His smug expression vanished in an instant, all because Lin had just activated his master loot skill. Glaring back, Lin shouted at the angel, telling him to shut up. Those words pushed the angel over the edge, making him scream. He roared, summoning divine power. An explosion of sheer force erupted. Boulders shattered in all directions, yet Lin stood completely unharmed. The massive shockwave barely even ruffled his hair. Kuro is livid, his eyes burning with hatred as he screams that he has found Lin's weakness. Unleashing his power, he strikes the knight with the crown of scarlet flame. The colossal sword runs him through, but he instantly flips heaven and earth. Anyone watching would think the young knight's days are finally numbered. But think again, his health bar instantly recovers to full in a second. The angel is livid, grinding his teeth in utter frustration and shock. Sweat drips down his face as he bellows at the young man, warning him not to use cheap tricks to escape his divine judgment. But Lin completely ignores Kuro's angry warnings, immediately calling down the holy lightning. His health surges back to full again. Gritting his teeth, Lin triggers Star Flip, and the angel refuses to yield. Kuro roars, calling Lin a mere insect who is begging for death, yelling that the boy will finally learn what happens when you defy a god. Lin thinks about how scary the angel seemed at first, but not anymore. He is convinced that this is merely a cheap projection and not his real body. Kuro screams, how is this possible? Why are his magic and physical attacks doing absolutely nothing to him? The human takes 0 damage and just keeps constantly healing. As his health maxes out again, Lin smirks. If Kuro had watched him before, he would not be asking such stupid questions right now. The angel demands to know if he is immortal, refusing to believe this. He is convinced Lin possesses some kind of cheat invulnerability skill. Lin mocks him, saying the almighty angel can barely even scratch his hair, or maybe tear his clothes a little. Staring ahead, Lin prepares his next move. Casting his signature blue sky skill is only the beginning of his ultimate attack. Activating divine healing, absolute disaster begins to rain down on the angel. Kuro crashes down from the sky, hitting the ground hard as his health plummets. With his health nearly gone, he grits his teeth, sweat dripping in agony. He tries to speak but can only choke. Lin moves in. Using a brand new, powerful healing art, he triggers a notification just seconds later. Lin successfully defeated the projection of Kuro, the powerful 2-winged angel. The deadly one-time dungeon is officially cleared, and his reward calculation begins. On top of that, he is awarded an additional, rare diamond chest. Lin claims the top spot, reading that this secret realm is about to vanish. All his accumulated power will now materialize into an exclusive, high-tier reward. The system flashes, granting him a mysterious, high-quality weapon. This exclusive weapon is the legendary Shimmering Moon Shadow Blade. Holding it carefully, he inspects the blade, sensing its immense, unique power. A detailed breakdown of its insane stats pops up on his screen. Absorbing other weapons will upgrade its quality and boost its stats. Finally, Lin reads that this weapon actually possesses an ultimate redemption form. Redemption energy fuels each strike, while the destruction form morphs the blade into a lethal damage-dealing weapon. Even better, switching to the moon shadow form inflicts heavy physical damage while healing him based on the pain he causes, wielding the deadly strike of the sea moon trait as well. With silent destruction active, Lin can unleash a devastating attack that cleaves through entire groups of enemies, alongside a skill known as the Moonshadow Rift. A system alert confirms the blade can either heal or kill, and 3 forms and 3 ultimates, a near-perfect setup for Lin's arsenal. Match for his innate skills, opening a diamond chest rewards him with 20 free stat points, an ice bow, a diamond skill, and top-tier platinum equipment. Feeling incredibly lucky, Lin decides to dump all of his new points into intelligence, pushing his stats to a level that matches the raw power of a seasoned level 20 professional. Seeing this, the young master smiles, knowing this is only his first milestone before heading up. Pausing near the portal, he decides to make use of his active luck buff. By clearing a few level 10 dungeons, suddenly a hostile voice echoes from the nearby bushes, growling through clenched teeth about waiting for nightfall. Lin turns around in confusion and demands to know who is hiding there. Yuan jumps out brandishing his weapon, screaming like a lunatic that today is. The day Lin dies, the crazed student yells that Lin ruined his whole reputation, causing everyone to turn their backs on him in disgrace. Unfazed, Lin simply places his hand on his weapon and calmly asks if Yuan is finally done with his pathetic tantrum, remembering how he already warned the other students not to waste time on anger. They promised to stay back. Now Lin wants to teach this brat a lesson. He strikes Yuan, reminding him that selling scam guides and slander are both illegal. Yuan crashes to the dirt with his teeth clenched, body trembling with pure rage. Yuan trembles with sheer rage, but a second later he is up. Lunging blindly at Lin, Yuan looks completely unhinged as spit flies. Saliva flying, Yuan attacks. Lin looks on, his eyes widening in shock, as he detects a heavy and deeply corrupted demonic aura radiating off Yuan. Now that's a wild twist. Is this really the classmate Lin once knew? The trembling boy grits his teeth, sweat dripping from his contorted face as the dark entity whispers to him, mocking him for being weak and despised. The sinister voice croons to Yuan that nobody in this world cares about him anymore, stressing that he is completely abandoned and alone. He tells Yuan that he is just a dog meant to make true geniuses look even brighter, and that resisting this role will only bring more hatred. Losing his mind, Yuan screams that he will tear Lin apart, while the demon promises him unmatched, godlike power that will reshape his entire life. The broken boy falls to his knees, desperately begging the abyss to grant him its unholy strength. Standing back up, Yuan gazes at the dark sky and loudly declares he is shedding his humanity. Lin raises his guard and points out that Yuan has been completely corrupted and infected by an abyss demon. Yuan charges forward, a wild surge of unholy energy erupting from him. The pressure from the abyss was immense, making his body incredibly strong, and Lin warned him. He still had a chance to turn back, but if he continued down this path, death was certain. After all, the official Alliance Code has a very specific rule about handling these corrupted souls. It dictates their elimination. Upon hearing this, the boy simply laughed. He mocked Lin, asking if he could actually kill him before wildly swinging his weapon. Screaming about retribution, the corrupted boy unleashed a massive horizontal slash fueled by abyssal energy. Lin threw himself to the ground to dodge, yet the dark strike still managed to clip him. Instantly, a system window popped up, warning that abyssal forces were invading his body. His stats were heavily debuffed, incoming damage was boosted, and a permanent bleed effect triggered. Blood trickled down as Lin struggled back onto his feet, his patience finally wearing thin. He was furious. Pausing for a second, he summoned a new weapon. Grip tightening, Lin told Cao Yuan not to blame him as he triggered Moonshadow Flash. Drawing his glowing blade, Lin knew this brat stood no chance. The kid was simply no match, even after selling his soul to the abyss. But the opponent looked completely mad, gnashing his teeth with wild, bloodshot eyes. Lin scoffed, remembering his foe was basically just a level 10 boss, as Cao Yuan yelled. He mocked Lin for being a priest who only upgraded physical strength. Calling Lin a walking corpse, the crazed boy broke into a fit of hysterical laughter. Lin quietly realized he did not even need to unleash his ultimate trump card just yet. There was no reason to waste it, especially since sneaky abyss demons were lurking nearby. If they saw his invulnerability skill and reported it, it would ruin his element of surprise. Keeping his cards hidden was safer. Meanwhile, Cao Yuan stared at his sword in disbelief. He could not comprehend how Lin was still standing even with all those active debuffs. It made no sense how a single strike from the priest could deal such monstrous damage. Lin stared back, realizing the young fool completely lacked basic combat knowledge and observation. The idiot did not even notice the massive magic damage. Lin needed to hurry and bait the beasts out as Cao Yuan fled, bleeding and cursing. Blood poured from the boy's wounds as he retreated, while Lin tightly gripped his sword. He pondered his next move to keep Gwen safe while preparing to trap the demons. Watching from the shadows, the demon realized this pathetic pawn was failing miserably. A buffed swordsman was clearly not enough to bring down this overpowered priest. Though the demon manipulated Cao Yuan's dark desires, he still desperately wanted to capture Lin. Suddenly, the demon remembered Han Gaeyang, who was obsessed with Lin's rumored invincibility. He could easily pull Han Gaeyang's strings to force Lin into serving his master. Recruitment was key, as Lin would make an incredibly powerful addition to the Dark Army. Cao Yuan's eyes burned with frantic madness as he smirked caustically. Demon favored this twisted plan, while Cao Yuan relentlessly pressed on with his assault. Laughing like a lunatic, the boy lunged forward to strike, screaming at Lin. He jeered, asking Lin if he was surprised, declaring the real battle starts now. Yet Lin remained entirely unfazed, staring coldly at the boy while analyzing his moves. Lin effortlessly restored his health, which absolutely infuriated Cao Yuan to his very core. His face flushed purple with rage, gnashing his teeth as Lin calmly watched him. Lin spoke up, questioning if the boy was even real or just an abyss demon. Cao Yuan screamed that the Alliance elites were already closing in fast. He had no more precious seconds to waste, so Lin just needed to hurry up and die. But the young man casually slung his weapon behind his back and slipped one hand into his pocket. He smirked at his opponent. Speaking through Yun, the abyss demon made his offer. The demon claimed it was his absolute best option. Hearing this, our young hero only stared back closely, a small smile playing on his lips. He knew he had them hooked. He asked if this was an official invitation and what benefits the abyss demon could actually provide. Inu frowned, asking if a single sentence was not enough to convince him. Raising his hands, Inu asked if the guy could truly comprehend the sheer power of the abyss. The young man admitted it was impressive and highly intriguing. Lin wondered if Huang Xiong's opponent truly knew Huang Xiong, since he had rejected their prior invitation and even gave his comrades a harsh tongue-lashing. C replied that he had personally invited him, but the fool failed to appreciate the offer and dared mock the abyss. Our hero casually asked if the kid had given that fool a chance only for it to be completely wasted. Indeed, when the abyss demon first approached Huan, he was immediately thrown right out. Huan clutched his head and called it absurd, questioning if Xin truly failed to realize his own limits. The young warrior realized Huan likely was not hiding anything or lying about his power. In fact, this demon's intellect seemed to be on the exact same level as the host. Knight reasoned that if the guy accepted the abyssal power, he would inevitably expose himself, becoming a prime target for the Alliance hunters. Instead, they should hand it over to him, since he had already secured the trust of the Alliance, allowing him to quickly rise through their ranks, secretly plunge humanity into total chaos, and ruin this wretched world. Yena asked why he wanted to destroy the entire world when he was such a popular public figure. Lin replied that the Lullies are total hypocrites, noting that his parents died simply because they were weak, completely ignored and left unprotected by everyone. His mother and father drew the monster away to save them, only to be brutally slaughtered. Knight declared that professionals exploit the weak, and there is no justice among humans, only pure greed and selfishness. Everyone deserved to die. The opponent stared deeply at him, tears welling in his eyes as he fully agreed with our hero's dark words. Suddenly, he began inflating like a balloon, screaming that he truly felt the young man's agonizing pain. A hideous monster erupted from Yun, urging the warrior to come join the abyssal family, where he will receive the absolute supreme power of the abyss. The beast grinned, suggesting that they should tear down this garbage world together. The young man slowly spread his arms, waiting for the abyss demon to hand over the dark energy in its grasp. Quietly, so the demon would not notice, he began summoning the blade of moonlight. A dangerous smile crossed his face as he muttered about activating destruction mode. Prepping his next devastating skill, the warrior tightened his grip on his weapon. The colossal monster opened its eyes wide, its black pupils instantly shrinking down to tiny pinpricks. It roared at Lin, asking if he was playing games. Without a shred of hesitation, the guy launched a fierce, direct assault. A system alert flashed, signaling that his damage output had surged by 50%. Pressing the advantage, he unleashed his skill, Reverse Starlight Fall into Hell. The demon's health bar bottomed out as it shrieked and collapsed to the floor. Lin realizes he just received a massive damage boost and immediately starts summoning the Reverse Surge of the Blue Sea skill, also known as the Sea of the Dead. The demon health is critically low, burning rapidly while its attack power is heavily reduced. Because of this, our young hero has absolutely no intention of stopping his relentless assault. He continues to strike as the terrified monster screams that this damage is completely insane. He cannot understand how a human can hit this hard, but Lin simply activates the Reverse Divine Healing Art, Calamity, inflicting a brutal bleeding effect on his target. Bleeding out, the demon realizes it is no wonder Yuan failed so completely. Even with abyssal power, Yuan stood no chance. No one can defeat him. Demon silently begs for salvation as Lynn calmly asks if the beast is trying to run away, pointing out that its real body is now completely exposed. It cannot rely on shadow clones. The demon shrieks in horror, shocked that Lynn knew about its hidden techniques from the start and deliberately set a deadly trap. He even risked his own life to capture its true body. His eyes burn as he calmly confirms that this was indeed his plan all along. The cornered beast unleashes its abyss. Hand skill screaming that Lin is a dirty traitor and must be eliminated. It glares at him with burning hatred, shouting that the young man has already fully exhausted his blitz. Right on cue, his health bar begins to rapidly drop on the screen. Seizing the opportunity, the vicious demon immediately lunges forward with its new abyss claw skill. Watching from the sidelines, Riley wonders how the young man will dodge this deadly strike. The beast laughs hysterically, thinking its opponent has finally walked straight into a trap. But Lin calmly retorts that it is indeed the end, but only for the demon. Suddenly, his health shoots back up, while the monster's remaining life force rapidly plummets. He stands perfectly still, glaring coldly as his reverse healing skill completely drains the foe. The massive demon collapses to the ground, its health bar instantly flashing down to 0. A moment later, a blue system notification appears, confirming the powerful threat is dead. For his victory, Lin receives the legendary Blade of Moonlight, which immediately begins absorbing the lingering soul of the fallen beast. He picks up the weapon, analyzing its unique properties. While normal battles do not grant standard experience points, he now understands how these specialized growth weapons can actually upgrade their quality by devouring the souls of abyssal monsters. The young warrior starts to wonder if they only feed on demons, or if they can absorb any living soul. Nearby, a confused bystander suddenly shouts, demanding to know what. The girl replies that she does not know, since she could not see anything. Seeing a figure motionless on the ground, they quickly call out for professional medical help. Another voice shouts that the local professional patrol service has already been alerted. They will arrive shortly, leaving Lin to quietly ponder what he should tell the hunter. Alliance about his weapon, absorbing the powerful soul of a high-tier abyss demon. Suddenly, a loud voice cuts through his thoughts, ordering him to strip his gear and drop the weapon. As Lin prepares to leave, the officer screams at him once more to freeze and raise his hands, warning that they are authorized to attack immediately. To avoid any unnecessary conflict, our hero slowly releases his weapon and calmly complies. He remains perfectly quiet, while the authorities proceed to lock him down with a mild paralyzing influence. The officer apologizes while discharging his weapon, reassuring Lin that he will feel absolutely no pain during this standard procedure. Cuffs lock onto his wrists while he quietly reflects on his next move. These professionals in front of him were responsible for maintaining peace, securing the city, so starting a fight with them was a terrible idea. Meanwhile, other patrol officers search the scene for signs of struggle, offering medical aid, gathering intel, and calming the panicked residents. Our hero looked around and saw these newcomers really knew how to do their jobs. Just then, an officer ran up to the squad leader, reporting a critically injured student. The kid was unconscious, but reeked of abyss energy, likely a corrupted demon. This left the team leader completely baffled, especially since another body lay nearby. He spotted the carcass of a level 20 abyss demon covered in deep gashes. It was clearly slain by the sword-wielding professional they had just detained. As officers reviewed the nearby security footage, someone questioned why only a bare skeleton remained. The officers gasped, cold sweat dripping down their faces as they stared in disbelief. Then a system screen materialized above Lynn Knight, displaying his identity and stats. The patrolman simply could not believe this kid was the one who took down the monster, though one officer recognized him and whispered praise. Another young man walked over to greet Lynn Knight, introducing himself as Wang Machao, captain of the elite 1st Abyss Demon Extermination Squad. He got straight to the point, asking Lin if he really killed it. He wanted to know if the half-dead student had been corrupted by that beast, before Lin was forced to step in and put an end to it. Our hero confirmed it, explaining that Yuan had mutated right in front of him and tried to take his life. He simply did what he had to do. Wang Machao asked how he even spotted the demon, since they normally stay hidden. Lin explained he figured the demon was watching from afar, waiting to strike. And when its plan failed, it offered tempting power to its victim, revealing its true form. The surrounding crowd stood completely frozen, jaws dropping at the sheer insanity of it. They kept asking each other if that was even possible. Wang Machao pondered quietly, realizing how incredibly difficult it must be to outsmart such a sly creature. And remember, Lynn Knight was still just a student preparing for his exam. The captain noted how the boy single-handedly dealt with both threats, then invited our hero to join hands and work with their alliance. But another patrolman quickly spoke up, recognizing the young genius. He asked the captain if he really had no idea who this guy was, pointing out that his reputation was already legendary in their circles. Wang Machao frowned, admitting he rarely went online, but rules were rules. Given how serious this situation was, they had to follow standard protocol. He told the boy he could make no exceptions, even if it messed up his exam schedule. Our hero stared back, completely unfazed, and watched the status screen fade away. The protective gaze of the goddess of light had finally vanished. He sighed, knowing his advantage in the upcoming exam remained massive. His combat output had already shattered his initial goals well before the test. Looking at the captain, he calmly stated that he understood the protocol and fully backed their efforts to purge these vile abyss demons from the city. Just then, a man in a white tunic intervened, telling Wang Machao there was no need to detain him. They wanted to investigate him or keep him under close surveillance, but the captain's boss intervened, saying they would deal with the kid after the test. The captain was covered, drenched in sweat, nervously arguing that this was simply standard protocol and could not be broken, adding that if he let the young man walk away now, he would face severe punishment at headquarters. But his boss pointed out that nobody would dare complain. Besides, this was not just a personal decision, it was a direct order from the president and all department heads, including the renowned Cursemaster, highlighting how the young man conquered it entirely alone without a single scratch, qualifying for the Forgotten Nest. Our hero simply scratched his head, previously believing that all those online rumors were wildly exaggerated. Meanwhile, the captain stared at the young man, deeply worried about whether the kid truly possessed such unprecedented divine talent. Knight then asked the boss if he would face questioning. The boss said no, insisting the young man needed to focus entirely on preparing for his cases. The man in the white tunic also noted that if he ever needed anything, he should freely contact professionals for assistance. Bowing politely with hands clasped, Wang stepped forward with an apology, saying he still had a single question left for Lin. As the young man took his sword, the captain asked if this whole situation was linked to the previous incident Huang Xiong had reported. Our hero confirmed it was indeed the same demon, which failed to devour Hang after their original scheme fell apart. He turned to Xiao Yuan, realizing that Wang was a true professional as he connected dots. The boss then noted that Xiaofeng's tested constitution was confirmed to be 1 in a million, matching the genius of a corrupt abyss demon. Knight realized the boy easily tricked the demon, while Huan remained completely unharmed. The man in the white tunic praised our hero for dealing with the monster, catching the corrupt and gathering crucial intel. Truly, he performs far better than those lazy, high-tier professional hunters. The boss then allowed Lin to leave, but mentioned he wanted a private word with him later, asking everyone to clear out. The man in the white tunic immediately ordered the entire space to be evacuated, while Wang Masha took the squad and weapons away. The captain instructed the first active squad to pack up their gear and leave. Immediately, he then sincerely apologized to our hero for his past rash behavior. The young man smiled and said it was perfectly fine before activating confidential mode. The boss saw they were alone. Now watch this next reveal closely. Weapon which he obtained upon clearing the land of death. This was the hidden light of the flashing moon. After slaying the demon, the blade absorbed its residual power. The director stood frozen in absolute disbelief, his jaw dropping wide as he stared. Knight noted that information on growing weapons was incredibly rare, stating that even the grandest libraries held no detailed records on them. He eagerly asked if a growing weapon could truly level up by consuming an abyss demon within the actual real world. The boss explained that discovering a weapon like this was rarer than finding a needle in a haystack, with only 3 ever recovered since the Union began. However, this was classified information, and even he did not know every single detail. He then added one absolute certainty. According to lore, these growing weapons could naturally gain. Liu knew people gained experience by defeating dungeon monsters and leveling up, but weapons never gained demonic power before. Liu stared ahead, deeply curious. He wondered if he was truly the first. The boss confirmed that he was. He thanked Liu for sharing such critical information with the Union. Liu believed that although his weapon, Blinking Moonlight, was the first to actually gain experience from killing high-level dungeon demons, there would surely be other weapons like it in the near future. These growing weapons would serve as a powerful tool against the Abyss demons, giving humanity a massive advantage in their struggle to survive. The boss agreed it was good news, but urged him to keep it quiet. Revealing such incredible secrets would only invite unwanted danger to an innocent person. Such a rare, priceless treasure is bound to stir envy and jealousy. If the entire younger generation thought like Liu, the alliance would be secure. He promised to report this matter so the Union could take action. But for now, Liu needed to focus on preparing for the upcoming trial. Once the exam was finished, the Union would reach out to him. Liu nodded in understanding and prepared to make his departure. Walking out, he crossed paths with the captain only a few moments later. The man offered a salute, eager for Liu to join their ranks. He told Liu to call him Old Man Wang before they parted ways. Back inside, the boss asked Tianqi for his thoughts on the matter. With Liu's file on the table, Tianqi noted his incredible, calm focus. The kid did not just possess raw power, he planned far ahead. He compared Liu to Shangyu and Yang, smiling at the striking similarity. After all, Yang was currently considered the undisputed leader of this generation. The boss took a slow sip from his glass, looking thoughtful. He noted that the youth always seemed to find their own paths. Yet Liu obtaining a growing weapon tailored for dungeons was truly astonishing. Suddenly, a sinister black energy began creeping slowly beneath their table. It seeped silently across the floor where the Alliance members sat. Liu stepped into his home and called out, but received no answer. Though Mumu heard him come in, she quickly ducked behind the couch to hide. Liu scratched his head in confusion, glancing around the quiet living room. Remaining silent, he focused his gaze directly on her hiding spot. He calmly announced that he could see her crouching behind the sofa. Mumu pouted and told Liu he could have at least pretended to be startled. He teasingly asked if her hard work just meant eating snacks all day. Mumu instantly puffed up with pride, pulling up her holographic system interface. It clearly showed her at level 10, leaving Liu absolutely speechless. He could not believe she had reached this milestone so quickly. Mumu grinned, asking if he was impressed and ready to party up. Liu remarked that it depended on her stats, knowing she barely slept. She shrugged it off, claiming she did not feel tired at all. Liu scolded her, pointing out she stayed up all night just for him. Mumu winked playfully, asking him if he still had not figured it out. She explained they were biometric tiers, revealing that her new skill was incredibly powerful. She only had to clear the dungeon alone to directly claim her rewards. Those rewards came straight from the secret realm treasure chest as she tried them. Lynn was completely shocked, asking if she meant that these biometric tiers had no limits. They had absolutely no time or distance limits, letting them clear dungeons completely unsupervised. Mumu confirmed it, adding that she was already inside the monster nightmare. She was currently fighting the Loch Ness monster, and judging by the system notifications, the final boss of the secret realm was already heavily wounded. It would end soon. Knight noted that this passive talent was perfect for leveling. She could play whenever she wanted, while easily monitoring her progress in real time. Sue smiled, saying she could help everyone, then asked if Lynn was getting jealous. He laughed, admitting he would love to have such an incredibly versatile assistant. Then he asked if there was a fatigue limit on this powerful skill. He wanted to know if they could raid these secret realms without limits. Mumu scoffed, saying she would never have reached level 10th without it. She teased Lin for being so slow today, but he was just genuinely amazed. He was shocked she had such a useful talent, meaning he had to chain his points strategy from 10 to 20. Sue stared intently at the young man, asking what he had just said about this point allocation system. Lin explained that she absolutely needed to optimize her stat distribution method. He said they had to adjust her points based on her specific build. It all depended on her skills and the equipment she currently had. Sue smiled, agreeing to send her detailed profile over to Lin immediately. Looking closely at his phone, Lin realized she left out some details. Mumu suddenly got flustered, demanding to know why Lin needed all these measurements. He replied that it was to accurately evaluate her current skill stage. Her physical numbers would directly improve the properties of her biometric tiers. Major advantages. Lynn warned that in easy low-level battles, beating weak monsters was simple, but high-level fights were a different story. Small details decided everything, and even a minor stat difference changed lives. That difference decided the outcome. Sue understood but still questioned the measurements. Why did he need her body size? She told him to just wait. Knight stepped in, asking if Lynn wanted to change her class instead. Since Lynn felt awkward asking, the system prompted Mumu for her data. Of course, if she wanted to keep it private, that was fine. Sue frowned deeply, asking if he always asked other girls for measurements. Lynn broke into a nervous sweat, quickly raising his hands to defend himself. He stammered that he only wanted to give his teammates a massive edge. Clutching the tape measure, she wondered if this was really just harmless data. After all, nothing was more important to her than getting stronger. Besides, they had been close friends since they were little kids anyway. Lynn had basically seen everything already, so there was no point hiding. Still, she felt incredibly flustered about handing over her exact physical size. Blushing deeply, she reluctantly began measuring her own chest. She stared at the numbers, utterly depressed that her bust was still stuck at 80b. Despite drinking cartons of milk, nothing had grown. She clenched her teeth. Wondering if Knight would tease her, clutching her head in panic, she remembered her last physical checkup, desperately telling herself she was still on track for an ADC cup. If that guy finds out the truth, how could she ever show her face to him again? Desperate, Sue decided to swap in data that belonged to someone else, fully convinced that absolutely nobody would ever suspect a thing. Hoping her pink assistant was done with the dungeon runs, she called out. The assistant materialized instantly, and Mumu immediately started taking her measurements, insisting she just hold still. Meanwhile, the young man stared ahead at the tightly closed doors, wondering what on earth Sue was doing inside for so long. Finally, after 10 minutes, she emerged and announced the test was done. She told him he could look, but warned him never to show anyone else. He studied the sheet, asking if this was truly her actual data. Sensing a major issue, he asked if the ADC stats were correct, noting they looked highly suspicious. Sue blushed crimson, quickly stammering that those were her exact physical numbers. Lynn calmly pointed out that if the stats were fake, their entire strategy would be ruined. Frowning heavily, she snatched the sheet back and quickly corrected the numbers herself. She handed it back, claiming it was correct now. Knight chuckled, saying, "This looked much more like her," playfully flicking her forehead. Ow, he stared at Sue closely. Asking if she had requested the data from G, she squinted one eye, calmly saying that Bai refused to share, since she couldn't possibly bother the big boss over her. She told him not to worry, and added that G mentioned Lynn had already given her plenty of amazing equipment and resources to earn enough money and points. Then Mumu laughed, noting the silly girl wasn't hiding her stats out of fear, but simply because she thought points were useless. Still, she shared her medical research data. Knight held his head, admitting that if not for Bai, he would have assumed she was trying to bait someone. He added that knowing her, she genuinely just hates being a burden to anyone, or making them think she doesn't trust them. He grabbed Sue's phone to transfer the files, noting they should definitely help Bai out since she was so talented. Mumu wanted to speak up about G's talent, but he suddenly turned around, completely shocked by a new system alert. The pink assistant Mumu announced that her mistress had just unlocked a powerful new skill called the Soul Summoning Bell, summoning spirits for battle. Knight was stunned, asking if she could summon things too. "Are we playing with nesting dolls now?" Sue wagged her finger, insisting it was something entirely different, a whole separate class of magic. She stated that the spirit summoning ability could only be used in secret dungeons. Unlike Mumu, they can never be summoned into the real world. But if a spirit dies, she can easily revive it. She shrugged, admitting she hadn't tested it yet. He nodded, finally understanding her now. He snapped his fingers, starting to explain that the celestial forces. Lynn decides to skip the system details and suggests hitting the dungeon instead. They walk for a bit until they reach a hidden dungeon called the Lizardmen Tribe. Suddenly, a holographic system screen pops up to show them its description and high difficulty. A surprised Mumu asks Lynn if he has morphed his weapon into a dagger. Lynn glances back at her and offers to let her test its power. Mumu eagerly accepts the weapon while her pink Assistant watches with excitement. Sumumu's total health points skyrocket, prompting her to ask her clone if it witnessed that move. The bionic copy simply closes its eyes, declaring there is absolutely nothing special about it. Instead, the clone promises to showcase something far more impressive. The bionic tier prepares to execute its exclusive spirit summon. Bell skill, manifesting a golden bell in its hands as a warning notification appears, announcing that a mysterious ancient spirit has responded to the chiming bell and crossed the spatial barrier, about to descend directly into the cavern. Lynn stares straight ahead, his eyes and mouth hanging wide open in utter shock. A deafening roar shakes the cavern as the massive beast approaches, throwing up thick clouds of dust. A system notification confirms that the legendary spirit of the giant guardian tree has arrived. A massive monster looms right before them, its menacing eyes glowing with immense power. From the interface, they can see the giant's high-level skills and detailed stats. Lynn quickly realizes that even though the beast is only gold tier, it easily possesses attributes that go far beyond any normal gold boss. He wonders if Sumumu continues to level up, will she be able to summon even more powerful entities to aid them in battle. Lynn realizes her spirit calling bell behaves exactly like a master-level summon item. Even better, the girl's incredible SSS class talent lets her summon this massive ally right from the start, completely ignoring any skill cooldown timers. Looking at Sumumu, he admits that her ability is basically a semi-divine talent. Facepalming at her sheer luck, Lynn shouts for the girl to quickly test the spirit. Sumumu turns around with a playful smile, agreeing to follow his commands. With a quick shout, she orders the towering guardian tree to go ahead and smash those pesky lizards. Just a few meters away, several agile monsters are leaping and screeching in defiance. The giant ancient spirit stares down at them, green fog drifting from its hollow eye sockets as it dismisses them as mere ants, unwilling to delay. The guardian tree immediately crushes them with a massive heaven strike. A blindingly bright, violent explosion erupts, lighting up the entire dungeon in brilliant crimson flames. The spirit's attack deals devastating elemental damage to the enemies, while generating a secondary shockwave that deals a crushing follow-up blow. The giant guardian calmly looks down at the ashes, telling them to rest in peace. Lynn narrows his eyes, realizing that this formidable strike heavily reminds him of the Goblin King's elite skill. However, this giant's attack range is far wider and the overall damage is insane. Lynn asks Sumumu if he can test his strength against her summon, leaving her totally shocked. He says that since the giant is on their side, they cannot just idle, with a far tougher boss waiting ahead, making this the perfect warm-up. The tree guardian was fighting all alone, but the young man smiled, saying it was just about bionic tears. Sue shielded her pink assistant, whose eyes went wide as she declared her flat refusal. Knight stared in complete disbelief, wondering if she could be revived. He shrugged it off as unimportant, letting the guardian tree tag along until they reached the next zone. The Lizardmen leader would rather trust the woody giant's skills, confidently claiming that he would handle the rest himself. Our hero launched right off the ground, leaping so high that he soared right over the stunned tree guardian. He then attacked the lizard monster with a brutal strike, draining its health bar instantly. Lynn realized there was no critical strike, meaning he could not defeat his opponent. With a single basic strike, the young man saw no other option but to draw his weapon. Within seconds, he completely finished off the Lizardman guardian. Sue opened her eyes wide, telling Knight that his basic attack damage was incredibly high. The young man realized his spectral lunar hue must have received massive extra bonuses since he was used to fighting from a long range. It completely shifted his healing skill numbers. He was well aware that the biggest advantage of the spectral moonshade was that faster attack speeds meant even greater damage bonuses. He knew this only worked on common monsters, as the angelic ghost completely ignored physical strikes and required his reverse healing skills to be taken down quickly. Lynn gripped his weapon tighter as a system notification flashed right in front of him, announcing a moment of silent destruction. The Lizardmen's health was now plummeting rapidly as they desperately tried to dodge the onslaught. Just seconds later, a system notification confirmed that the group of Lizardmen had been completely wiped out. Mumu watched closely, amazed by the fact that Lynn had grown so incredibly strong she could no longer keep up. Bionic Tears offered to fight alongside the Guardian Tree and the giant Greed, Knight gripped his weapon tighter, realizing that it was finally his. Turned to show off, he decided it was time to unleash the full power of the moon shadow between the crevices and the sacred oath of the ocean. As the group walked forward, a sudden notification warned them that they had reached the Lizardmen tribe, where 300 warriors waited to fight to the death. To protect their leader, Sue warned that these level 300 guards would deal serious damage, but Lynn confidently promised to handle the healing and keep their guardian tree alive. Bionic Tears ordered the giant to run straight toward the walls and smash them down. A system message popped up, stating the guardian tree had entered recharge mode for a massive speed boost. It immediately began tearing through the endless waves of charging enemies. Mumu and Bionic Tears did not just stand on the sidelines, either joining the clash against the Lizardmen. Our hero activated his moon shadow skill, granting 3 seconds of absolute invincibility, a massive speed boost, and the power to teleport hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. Alert popped up, showing he had summoned an illusionary moon jellyfish. The skill instantly cleansed all harmful debuffs from both him and his ally. The next system alert revealed that this powerful skill made both him and his target healing back his health every half second for 15 seconds. Suddenly, the giant boss of the Lizardmen finally emerges from the deep forest, looking absolutely furious. Bionic Tears commands the great guardian tree to strike with full force. It immediately unleashes a desperate, massive strike, shattering the ground. The monster beasts scatter in absolute panic, screaming. Knight watches the absolute chaos unfold, realizing something very unusual is happening here. This bionic tear is highly intelligent. She needs no directions from Mumu. The giant tree obeys only her. Lynn notes the massive giant's raw power, but its flaws are glaring. The beast relies entirely on close combat. This gives agile classes a massive advantage against it in the future. Our hero has seen enough. He has thoroughly tested out most of the skills belonging to the spectral moonshade, so the young man makes a move. He activates his reverse star power and reverse hell, just like that. The boss is dead. A system notification flashes across his vision. The Lizardmen dungeon is conquered. Lynn keeps a completely serious face, scanning his surroundings without showing a single hint of joy. The guardian tree notes it can feel a deeply familiar energy, though it cannot quite recognize it. Our hero just stands staring intently at the giant, letting out a small smirk. The giant tree speaks again before it departs back to the soul realm. It wants to ask Lynn for a favor. He asks what it is, surprised by the fact that this creature is actually highly conscious. Frowning, he realizes this explains why people said the tree is unique. The great tree is a one-time summon that can never be revived. He remembers a legendary knight who kept his memories despite being a phantom. That phantom summoner was highly unique, capable of being resurrected multiple times after death. Knight asks the giant what he needs. He knows it is intelligent. This beast is clearly a self-aware entity from an entirely different world. The giant tree speaks, hoping very much that the young man will take his mistress straight to the forgotten lair. It hopes he has the path. The young man needs a special mark that grants access to that hidden place. He adds that his mistress has access too, so he can bring her along. Lynn stares ahead, wondering who this giant is and who he means. The massive guardian falls silent for a brief moment before finally answering him. He explains he was speaking of bionic tears, calling himself a nameless guard. Hearing this, Knight commands the massive, kneeling tree giant to stand up. Suddenly, a system notification announces that the Lizardmen tribe quest is complete. The Lizardmen tribe quest is finished, and a silver chest has been awarded. He must decide whether to claim his rewards, but our hero tells the giant tree to wait while he handles this urgent screen notification first. He begins swiping through the system interface, telling Mumu they need to get out. They must leave this area immediately, and she quickly agrees. Nearby, Sue watches Lynn intently, reflecting on his incredible power. Lynn knows that universal laws usually dictate that an adventurer's awakened talent remains active forever. But in a symbiotic relationship, even the strongest talent can fade away. It can be completely extinguished in this harsh reality, and even if summoned beasts protect their hosts as a basic biological instinct. Yet bionic tears summon entities from other worlds, letting them control their own destiny. He even had the rare key needed to enter a forgotten lair. Knight wondered what kind of creature she was, fearing Sumu might threaten all of humanity. He realized they simply couldn't let such a hidden, massive threat go unchecked. It had to be dealt with, and it had to happen immediately. Lynn told the girl he had business to attend to, urging her to head back. She agreed to head back, leaving him alone with the bionic tears. Mumu watched him, her eyes and mouth widening in absolute shock. She asked if something was wrong, prompting him to look down at his phone screen. He promised everything was fine, though he warned her to brace herself. Stepping back toward the window, he raised the phone to his ear with a serious look. He directly asked his contact if they were free right now to talk. A short while later, he arrived at Hong Kwan's place to talk. The senior officer asked what was so urgent that required a personal meeting. Lin pointed out his high rank and qualifications to enter the Forgotten Lair. Hong Kwan smiled, asking why Lin wanted to know about this dungeon. That was indeed one of the big questions on his mind. He wondered if the boss was worried his judgment was clouded. And is that why he wanted him to take a professional test first? Hong Kwan sighed, admitting it was part of it, but not all. He stayed quiet for a long moment before explaining the truth. Lin probably had no idea how insanely complicated that dungeon was. It was 12 times harder than anything Knight faced before. Even the weakest monsters inside were incredibly high level. At diamond level, countless challengers enter and never return. Hong Kwan noted that even geniuses are still terrified to use their access. Lin realized it required skills and gear way beyond diamond level. Exactly because only legendary equipment can defeat the boss. Only legendary tier equipment could stand a chance of defeating the boss inside. But a solo victory would reward them with mythic tier equipment and skills. He knew everyone was just worrying, but can you blame them? If he acted like Huangfang, believing his own talent was invincible, and blindly rushed into the dungeon, he would die instantly. Lin rested his chin, asking what level was required to enter. Hong Kwan replied that level 15 was the bare minimum. But he advised waiting until level 20 to synchronize all his gear. Only then should he go, Knight smiled. He promised he wouldn't be reckless with something this important. He would prepare properly, treating this like a real test. Hong Kwan mentioned there was another reason they needed to talk. Recently, most of their forces were tracking the Abyss demons. Those demons were getting cocky, and Knight nearly got caught. Hong Kwan added that a fallen white jester had recently surfaced. Worse, they learned these Abyss demons had already begun to infiltrate. Huan warns that the Alliance is full of spies, but promises they will deal with Yunqing. He adds that adventurers cannot allow the dark tragedies of the past to repeat. The older man warns that future events might shift, so Lin must stay alert. Huan tells him to wait for updates, leaving Lin completely confused. The older man explains that the Alliance might lock down the entire city soon. To prevent any issues, they are preparing a massive purge of internal personnel. They are actively hunting down anyone with a history of corruption. Huan points out that a major professional exam is right around the corner. They absolutely cannot let these corrupt rats interfere with the new candidates. That is why they kept the news quiet, to avoid causing widespread panic. He tells the young man to ignore the Abyss demons and focus on his studies. They are in control, even if some spies slipped into the staff. Lin takes a quiet sip from his glass before asking his next question. He wonders what happens if a professional awakens a summoning-type talent. If those summoned creatures come from another world, is there a risk of betrayal? Huan answers immediately with complete calm. There is absolutely no chance of that. A heavy silence fills the room as Lin stares back in pure disbelief. His eyes widen in shock, and honestly, who wouldn't be skeptical here? Huan explains that an awakened talent is directly tied to a person's profession. This symbiotic power grows deep inside of every single person. It acts like a crucial second brain, living and dying alongside its host. No matter what kind of creature is summoned, it will never pose a threat. Even if it comes from another world, the user is perfectly safe. Huan emphasizes that the creature will always obey its master, unconditionally. They have tested this truth in the heat of actual combat. Even powerful mind control abilities cannot force a summon to attack its master. Lin takes a moment to process this, then asks about summoning Abyss demons. Huan shakes his head, claiming that such a thing is simply impossible. He notes that even if someone in the Alliance managed to summon one, The demon would not turn on humanity or lure others into the dark abyss. Instead, it would infiltrate the enemy forces and act as a double agent. Adjusting his glasses, Juan asks if Lynn is the one with this unique talent. Lynn admits it belongs to his girlfriend, who also serves as his co-commander. He frowns as he explains how her talent summoned an otherworldly entity. This creature somehow has the clearance needed to enter the forbidden Forgotten Nest. Juan stands up in complete shock, stunned that the summon holds such high clearance. Lynn hesitates, admitting the spirit mentioned something valuable inside, but he is unsure. The older man stares out the window, processing this massive piece of information. Juan promises not to betray Lynn, but insists they must report this to the Alliance. He assures Lynn that he has his back, but official procedures must be followed. He explains that Lynn is a highly promising talent in the eyes of the leadership. If they verify the creature is a legitimate summon, there will be no restrictions. It will be allowed to roam freely, even inside heavily populated human cities. With a warm smile, he reassures Lynn that they will not investigate his girlfriend. In fact, rare talents like her are highly valued within the Alliance. Lynn clenched his fist tightly, struggling to regain some composure. He desperately tried to force himself to stay calm, absolutely hating the realization that he was not in complete control of this situation. Quan looked over, asking if the young man had finished asking all of his questions. The senior officer also wanted to make sure Lynn had a chance to ask something as well. Quan pulled a file from his desk, revealing the official autopsy report on the beast. According to the final medical conclusion, the true cause of death pointed to a pre-planned magical attack. Apparently, a highly calculated magical strike did it. However, the autopsy revealed that its cells and organs were actually completely exhausted and dried up from the inside. Its bodily functions simply ceased instantly. Quan noted that this was incredibly familiar. The cellular damage closely mirrored a highly toxic chemical, pointing directly to Lynn's own awakened talent. The medical examiner had perfectly identified his secret poisoned milk technique. Lynn picked up the sheets, thoroughly impressed by how professional the medical examiner actually was. They had completely mapped out exactly how his specialized reversal treatment destroyed organic matter from the inside. After Lynn confirmed the theory, Quan let out a loud, hearty laugh. He explained that the higher-ups had been fiercely debating this bizarre death for a very long time. They wondered if Lynn was truly the one who had soloed the beast. Some experts argued that another elite professional had already dealt massive damage beforehand, leaving it near death. They claimed Lynn simply took advantage of the situation to land the final blow. Naturally, a massive, ongoing debate followed over who should actually be credited for the kill. Wait, he actually had no idea that the Alliance heavily rewarded demon slayers. He revealed that the Alliance heavily rewards anyone who successfully takes out an abyss demon. He urged the boy to wait patiently for the ceremony to grab whatever award he wanted. The young man could even request the exact rare resources he needed. After considering this, Lynn asked if the man could send over a detailed inventory list of options. Quan readily agreed to help. With that, Lynn stood up, preparing to head back home. He had to quickly gather his squad and lead them into their next dungeon run. Quan stepped forward, warmly wishing him the best of luck on his upcoming test. Clenching his fist, the veteran declared that the boy would easily take first place and make them proud. Lynn promised he would do his absolute best to bring glory to their city. He jokingly asked if the older man had placed any heavy bets on him, getting a laugh. Later that afternoon, Lynn spotted Bao nearby and called out to get her attention. Knowing she was looking for him, he waited for her answer. Talk about absolute commitment, she actually brought her entire personal stats folder. She handed it over, giving Lynn complete, unrestricted access to her private build details. This sheer level of trust caught him off guard, and he refused to disappoint her. He needed to plan carefully, patting her shoulder reassuringly. He told her not to worry, promising her talent would soon hit Tier 2. Once she reached that milestone, he would personally carry her through the next duo dungeon. First, they would carefully evaluate which class progression path suited her best. Bao beamed with sheer excitement, her eyes sparkling with joy. She promised to prepare thoroughly and make sure she did not fall behind. With an energetic wave, the girl immediately dashed off to squeeze in some extra dungeon farming. Since her fatigue levels were not maxed out yet, she was unstoppable. Lynn could only rub his temple, smiling at her drive. He turned back to the past dungeon data, ready to craft their strategy. He sat right in front of his computer, running numbers. He knew the data on her current skills and equipment was fully analyzed, but muscle movements and dungeon reflexes were also incredibly vital. Things like reaction time and habitual actions mattered a lot, he realized. Bai's current statistics were still pretty inaccurate since they ran the dungeon together. Because of that, Lynn noticed that Bai did not stand out much back then. She only had that one successful buff, but he still wanted to help. He would design a custom plan so she could pass without revealing her talent. She had to clear the final test to be accepted into the academy. After all, the solo class change challenge required real skill, not just luck. Meanwhile, Smoking Fallen reported from the dungeon that Lord Mag had been slain. Blackfist Fallen already knew, calmly offering to hunt down the killer himself. Another companion standing nearby asked if they were going after the killer. It was actually Cardboard Fallen, who noted how risky their situation had become. He warned them that Alliance spies were everywhere, so they had to be careful. Unleashing the Abyss right now would immediately summon a cleanup squad. He approached a girl named Lisa, complaining about how clumsy the bald man was. Naturally, those harsh words made the bald man flare up in pure anger. Lisa ignored them, wondering who their master would appoint as the new commander. She also asked if that planned assassination mission was still on the table. A man wearing glasses sitting nearby spoke up to clarify the situation.